Welcome to episode 9 of What Are You Playing with your host, Derek. And I'm joined by a couple guys I had on. Well, it's been a little over a month, but it was just 2 episodes ago. It was episode 7. But we did a spoiler cast. So we were tied to one game and one game only. But this time I have Rudy and Jesse back. Welcome, guys.
Hey,
Thanks for
thanks
having
for
me
having us
back.
back.
How are you guys doing?
Doing well.
Good,
Can't
good.
complain, really.
Doing great, man. Glad to
Well,
be
we
back.
can always complain, but it's
But
best
nobody
not
would
to.
listen anyway.
Nobody cares.
No,
They
no, no.
actually will judge you for it.
We saved the complaining for those big Facebook groups, Derek. Come on, you know
Exactly.
Exactly.
that.
That's where we just get all our attention for having a cool take and hating on something. But I'm glad to have these guys back. This show, though, this is all about what they're playing, hence the show. So we will get into that. But I actually wanted to start doing a new thing, and I'm not going to act like this is an original Derek idea. It's not. I don't have original ideas. I just steal from people. Um, I'm a big fan of. I don't watch every one of their episodes, but if I do watch a podcast, I do watch Summoning Signs. I don't know if you guys ever watched that or listened to it. Um, and one of the things they've been doing is same thing I do here. I bring on different people, try to every week or every time I do a show, and they've been doing a top 10 game of the year. So what they mean is for the last 10 years, so 2014 through 2023, we just ask what your game of the year is. So that's what I'm going to do here. So what I'd like, and nobody's going to contest it. This is just your personal choice. You also can explain why you picked it if you still love it. The other thing that I would highly recommend is if there was a game that you liked back then, and that was your game of the year, but it has since changed, mention that. So mention,
Yeah.
hey, back in 2014, this was my game of the year, but it's actually changed to this other game. Here's why. So that's what we're going to do now. I want to start it, though, with Rudy.
Sure.
What was your game of the year for 2014?
Okay, so my game of the year for 2014 was actually Bayonetta 2. I remember
Okay.
this year, the other game I
Wii
played a
U,
lot
right?
of, it was Wii U, and I remember thinking um, that I was impressed that this game was even able to run on the Wii U, because as we all know, the Wii U was not the most powerful system. But I
Nope,
remember
it
thinking
was
like this thing,
definitely a
yeah,
generation behind.
it 100% was. But I remember I was really impressed by just it being a great game, and then like I was just impressed because it looked better than the other games that I was playing at the time on the system. But man, I love that game so much. It's still my favorite out of the three, I think.
Oh yeah, it's
Um,
easily the best of the
Oh, it's
three.
so good. And I still every day I wish they would bring that game to PC and I would play it in a heartbeat again.
That's a
Um,
little weird. Well, I guess it was Nintendo that
I know
published it, so never
Nintendo
mind.
totally did it, and I don't know if
Yeah.
it'll ever come anywhere else, but
Because I was
man, I
just
wish it
gonna
would.
say Bayonetta 1 is on PC, but that
It's
was
on PC.
Sega.
Yep. Yep.
Now that Nintendo's publishing 2 and 3, we don't see them, which
I
sucks.
don't I don't know if they do it. I think it's like a almost like an Alan Wake 2 thing. Like I don't know if that'll ever come to Steam because I know Epic it's totally their reasoning. The only reason it exists is because of them.
Well,
So
and
I don't
Nintendo
know.
doesn't bring any games to PC, right?
That's the weird
Um,
thing is
they've
they
done
don't.
some
I
like
don't think
they
they do.
did they see. I don't know if like there's some games that have started off Nintendo and they come to PC, but I don't think they published them. Like Octopath and Bravely Default,
Yeah, that's what I'm
they didn't
saying.
publish those,
Anything
right?
published by Nintendo or financially supported by Nintendo never comes to PC. And I was just gonna say, when is it? Because Sony was that way too, but now we see.
Now we see them. Yeah.
Oh, praise God! Final Fantasy 16,
Oh,
God of
such
War,
good news.
Ragnarok.
So cool.
Yes, baby! You guys have no idea how excited I am. I've played those games, I beat them, but I'm so excited to melt my face on my PC with those bad boys. Um,
That's so cool.
but Sony's now doing that, which I love so much. I would I would probably die if I was playing Tears of the Kingdom
Oh my
on my
gosh,
PC right now.
that would be
I
so
might not
awesome.
ever play another game. I might just be like, this is it.
That would be
This is what I've
amazing.
been waiting for. So
Oh
good pick.
man.
I actually came to the Bayonetta games late.
Hmm.
I bought them like pretty sure I bought Bayonetta 1 day one, but I didn't like it. And then I came back to the franchise right before 3 was being released.
Okay.
And I beat Bayonetta 1 and 2 back to back. And I kind of fell in love with the franchise. But then I wore myself out by the time 3 came out. I played it for literally like 10 minutes. And I was like,
Sure.
not a bad game. I just don't want to play it.
Sure.
Because I played Bayonetta 1 and 2. So I actually need to come back to 3. Did either one of you play 3?
Yes, it's
Did you
disappointing.
did you
Yeah.
beat it?
So go ahead,
I
Jesse.
did not beat it. It's the only one in the series I didn't beat. I got very deep into it, but I was just really disappointed with that game.
I actually had similar feelings to Jesse at first, and
Mhm.
it was a combination of like I wasn't as disappointed as Jesse, but I was a little bit disappointed at first, and so I moved on to other games. And I
Mhm.
can't even explain to you what I can't pinpoint what I was disappointed by. It just wasn't grabbing me like the other two, so I left. Then I came back and I gave it like a more fair shot. Then it started kind of grabbing me. I started getting more into the combat that I loved about it in the first place, and then like using those big like kaiju monster guys or whatever. And then once I kind of like gave it a better shot, then I kind of got way into it. And do
Yeah.
I think it's as good as 2? No. But do I think it's like if the bar for like Bayonetta, the first one, is here, do I think it reaches that level? Yeah, I think so. I don't think it's as
Okay.
good as 2 though. I think it does some things better than 2, but it also doesn't do other things as good
What
as 2.
blew me away about 3 is that it's straight up not as good looking as 2 was.
Yeah,
Yeah.
strangely enough. How
They
does that happen?
tried to make it bigger, didn't they? It's like more open.
I think there's more going on in a sense. They have those big monsters on screen too, which I
Yeah.
think definitely slows things down for sure. But the story takes some. Jesse, I know you didn't get far enough, but the story in like the last quarter takes some pretty crazy twists and turns. I wonder.
I mean, that's pretty
Obviously, I don't want.
standard Bayonetta.
I mean,
Those
yeah.
stories go wild places.
I
Yeah.
wonder if they're gonna make another. I'm curious, but yeah,
I think
overall,
they will. I think 3
They didn't
was
sell very
a
well,
hit.
did it?
I thought it was
I
a
don't
hit.
know. I don't know.
We'll
I
have to
think
look it up.
on the Switch, most of the first party games sell really well. So I don't know for sure, but yeah,
Good pick with Bayonetta 2. I
yeah,
do
Bayonetta
approve of
2,
that one. Only
totally.
because I came back around and was like, you know what, it's a good game.
That
Yeah,
would be
that
my
was.
number 2 for 2014.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And by the way, guys, if you have like some of these years, at least for me, it
Mm-hmm.
was really hard to pick my game of the year.
Yep.
So if you do have multiple ones where you're like, this is my game of the year, but I want to give a shout out, just give a quick shout out. I don't care about that.
Well,
We can break a
I'll give a
give a
shout
shout
out
out.
to, even though everyone hates on this game now,
Mhm.
I thought Dark Souls 2 was excellent when I played it back then.
No,
Everyone hates that game
now I
now.
hate you. Now I hate you.
I don't know why everyone hates that game now. I guess because the other ones are better
Oh
now.
my
But when I played
god.
that game when it came out, I loved it. So
Bro, it's
I'll
the
shout
only
it
one I
out.
have. It's the only one I haven't beaten, and I literally booted it
Uh,
up last week and played 4 hours on PC. And I texted my buddy Sasan, and I was like, "Dude, f this game. It sucks so bad." I said, and I'm not mad because it's hard. It is pretty
right.
hard,
It is hard.
but that's not why I'm mad. I'm mad because and I'll probably continue to play through it, but
Sure.
I'm mad because it's so slow. The
It is.
animations are so freaking
It is
slow.
slower.
And before I even told him I was mad, he's like, "I hate that game because they did mocap, so that's why the animations are slower. They
Oh,
use
I didn't
real
know that.
people. Yeah, it's
Okay.
real people, real physics, so everything is slower." And he's like, "It's terrible." So
I
so
played it when it first came out, so
I'll let you like it. It's still loved. I mean, we were Tim and I did our podcast last week. I think he brought that a couple weeks ago actually. He brought that game up because it was the highest rated Dark Souls game, which is crazy
look at that.
because
Interesting.
of like the fan base, it's the most hated of the 3.
I thought Dark
But-
Souls 3 was the most hated.
Mm-mm.
I think that
Because it
one,
was like too
people
easy
have
or something.
people have good, but you're right, Jesse. Like 2 and 3, 2 overall though. If you
Yeah.
put 10 people in a room that are Dark Souls fans, people will hate 2 the most for some reason. I mean,
9 of them
what
will
Derek
hate
says is
2.
true. A lot of people don't like it for that reason. I played it when it first came out, so I didn't really have that experience. But 3, there are some like real hardcore people who will say it's too easy, whatever. 3 to me was like the greatest hits. Like it took a
It
lot
was a
from the other
good balance.
I
It was a
agree.
good
I thought it
balance.
was a good balance. Yeah. But
Good pick though. I'm kidding. I still love the Dark Souls franchise, but yeah. I was just playing it, so it's like fresh on my mind. Like, dude, this game sucks. I hate you. That was my mentality.
I
All right,
got
so good bonus pick. Jesse, did you have your game of the year for 2014? And there's only one correct answer, so if you don't say it, I'm literally blocking you from the show. But go ahead.
Yeah, mine is Dragon Age Inquisition.
Thank you, thank you
But I
very
have to
much.
admit, this is one of those years that is a little bit difficult because 2014 is a low-key bangers year for games.
Yeah, sure.
Well, what was you said your second place was Bayonetta 2, right?
Yeah, but they also in 2014 you also had games like South Park: The Stick of Truth.
Oh, that was
You
a
had
good one.
Infamous: Second Son,
Ooh,
Mhm.
forgot about that.
Shadow of Mordor, Wolfenstein: The New Order. Like there was a lot of really good games.
True.
Good,
But yeah,
but as soon
Dragon
as I
Age
saw
is
Dragon
definitely
Age
mine.
Inquisition, I was like, I don't need to look at anything else. It's already locked
Yeah.
in. So
Well, I'll just mention I haven't. This is a blind spot for me. I haven't, just because I know they're big games. I haven't played through all those games, so I can't really speak on that game yet. I'm sure if I played it, I'd love it. So
have you played through any of them, or are you saying you haven't played any of them at
no,
all?
I haven't. I haven't played them. Nope. I
Oh
haven't
Okay.
played
man, you've
Dragon
missed
Age
a lot
games.
of really good games,
Yeah.
dude.
And the more time that goes by, the more I'm like, when can I get to So I gotta eventually get to them. I
They're
have
all
them
on
in my library.
PC.
Yeah, I have them all, so I gotta eventually get to those.
You have them all,
Inquisition.
but haven't played any of them.
Yeah, I picked them up on sales. It's like obligatory
Oh
that
yeah,
every
you can
Steam
get
person has
them.
them.
You can get all 3 games
Yeah,
on PC for a total of like $10
I bought them all on some crazy
easily.
Steam sale once for like you said, like $11 one time, all 3 of them
Yeah,
with all the DLC.
yeah.
Tell me if this is right. I hear Dragon Age 1, amazing. Everyone says Dragon Age 2 sucks. Everyone
I
says Dragon Age
disagree,
3
but I
Yeah,
get what you're
Dragon Age
saying.
2 does not suck.
Well,
It's the
that's
weakest of the
that's what I
3,
hear. Yeah.
but it does not suck.
It's
Okay.
just real quick on why it sucks, because it doesn't. It's
Okay.
because Dragon Age Origins was basically Coder
Okay.
like in a fantasy world,
Okay.
and Dragon Age 2 is more action based. It's not
Gotcha. So it's just
Bayonetta, but
different.
Yeah, they
it's
stripped
more
a lot of the
real.
RPG elements.
Yeah,
That's fine. I'm
they
okay
made
with
it
that.
real time, and it's. I think the other thing people didn't like was you could change the look of your character, but you were not Ethan Hawke.
You're just
You were
Hawk.
Hawk. Yeah,
Yeah, you're a
Hawk.
Hawk. Yeah.
So
Gotcha.
they also didn't like that you had to play a specific character or whatever. I have a different opinion. I
Okay.
loved it. You
Okay.
know, if I had to rate those 3 games, Dragon Age Inquisition is actually my favorite,
Yep,
Okay.
mine
probably
too.
because it's the most modern, but it's my favorite. Then it would be Origins, but 2 is like right behind Origins because I actually prefer like the more quicker combat, but Origins has better characters, probably a
This
better
would
story. I don't remember everything real well, but
this would anger some the hardcore Dragon Age fans, but I actually think 2 holds up better than 1 does in the
Okay.
it probably
gameplay.
does.
Probably
Gameplay
more
way.
modern.
Yeah. It's
Okay.
hard to go back to some of those older BioWare games, but
Sure.
yeah, but Dragon Age, I don't have to tell you guys, it's Dragon Age Inquisition for me for 2014. What didn't have much competition, although I agree with Jesse, all those games you guys have listed, I do like. I do think they're good, but no competition. The hype level for me personally for Dragon Age Inquisition when it was coming out, so it was before it came out. I was 6 months before it was coming out. All I remember doing is laying in my bed watching YouTube videos, just watching gameplay over and over. Like, I need this, I need this, I need this, and it lived up to that hype. All right, so let's move on to what I would consider a more difficult year, and that is 2015.
Not for me.
Yeah, this one's
Let's
easy for me.
Let's start with Jesse. So we're gonna
Okay.
we're gonna flip flop every time. So Jesse's 2015, and then Rudy, you will do 2016 first,
Okay.
and so on. So Jesse, what was your game of the year for 2015, and if there is any, added games that you want to mention as well?
My game of the year by a country mile is The Witcher 3. It's a no contest for
I
me.
thought it was Rocket League, so I'm disappointed.
No.
Rocket
Rocket
is
League's fun and
fantastic.
all, but The Witcher 3 was like a industry changing kind of game.
I agree with that.
And I mean, in the world, the character development, even like the side quests, everything about that game was just chef's kiss.
Any honorable mentions, or
Yes,
is that your?
I'll give shout outs to Rise of the Tomb Raider, which I think came out
Okay.
in 2015,
Enjoy that.
and Assassin's Creed Syndicate, which,
Yeah,
in
I
my
did love
opinion, is
Syndicate.
one of the best Assassin's Creed games.
It is. I love that setting, and it actually had fun combat. So yeah, it's good game there too. Rudy,
Yes. So
2015.
my pick is Bloodborne. I think it's one of the very best. The only thing, in my opinion, that is wrong with this game is that it's 30 FPS. Some people don't care about that. I care about it heavily, and I refuse to play it ever again until they fix that. If they were to fix that, I would drop every game and play it over again right now.
I don't even care if they fix it. Why aren't you making money off the
I have
franchise? It's
no
the
idea.
most desired franchise probably all of gaming, and they're just ignoring
I
it.
have no
I don't
clue.
understand that.
It's probably the number one Souls game that everyone unanimously agrees that they like. Out
Hmm.
of all the Souls fans, this is the one that everyone would get together and agree that they like it. Some people like Sekiro, some people don't. Some people like Dark. You know what I mean? Like everyone agrees that they like this one. The setting. It's not just the gameplay. It's everything about it. It's
It's
like the
everything.
cosmic, the Lovecraftian stuff going on. Um, this game, man. I remember the day one picking it up, and listen, I'm not trying to sound like a hipster, but maybe I'll sound like it a little bit. I picked it up day one. I know a lot of people came later, and that's great. I love that. I love that they picked it up later. But I just loved being there the first day, not expecting. I didn't know what to expect. I remember seeing that Project Beast thing leak, and I'm like, "What the heck is this?" I remember just all I knew was Dark Souls. Like, what is
Hmm.
this thing? This looks so crazy. I remember picking up day one. And I was like, "What am I playing right now?" And I remember beating the cleric beast on that bridge the first day. And I was like, "Wow, this is something special." And the more you go, and it's just such an amazing game. And as I got into PC gaming, that's the one thing. I go back to it, I still love it, but man, it just feels like you're walking through mud. And if they could just fix that, how are they gonna bring like Days Gone to PC? But they won't bring Bloodborne to PC. That makes no sense to me. They released The Last of Us remake on PS5. That's great. And 3 months later, they bring it to PC. But why haven't we gotten this? It's been almost 10
Is that
years.
because Sony owns those properties, but Sony doesn't own Bloodborne?
I do think there
Well, I
has to be
think
something with they were the publisher, but then FromSoft owns the IP, I
But I
believe.
think doesn't Sony own the IP of Bloodborne? I'm pretty
Do
sure they
they?
own that. I'm pretty sure that's what happened
I thought
when
it
I
was,
looked
and I
into
could
it.
be wrong. We would have to Google it.
Yeah.
I think Sony published it, meaning they
Okay.
paid for they funded it.
Right.
That way it could be an exclusive, but it's from Sauce IP, I
Okay.
believe.
We'd have to look into
We'd
it.
have to
But
look it up, but in some way, maybe they own the IP, maybe they just
I just
paid from
Googled it.
Soft.
yeah,
What
tell
is
me.
it?
Sony owns it.
Sony
Okay.
owns it. Okay. So what are
So
they
they are
doing?
ridiculous.
What
They
are
are
we doing
ridiculous.
here? And if the issue is From Software's busy and they're like, listen, we can't do that right now. Okay,
Give
I
it to
get it.
Blue Point.
Yeah, Blue Point clearly can do a good job, right? They did Demon Souls. But like why can't you just yeah, why can't we just do a remake? We don't need Bloodborne 2. Just do a remake or just port it. Can you just port it over to PC or just do an update? I don't know. Whatever. I'm getting off track, but I think it's a phenomenal game. Now, I do want to say I played The Witcher 3 later on, really because of you guys. You guys were the main reason I played it. So thanks to you guys. And I'm so glad you guys talked it up so much. I remember I'd see you guys comment all the time. You two guys and Tim. The Witcher 3 is so good. The Witcher 3.
Mm.
And then Sean would always say the opposite. So that made me really want to play it now. So one day I said, you know what? This summer, let me check this out. And my God, that game, it's not like I'm saying Bloodborne is my pick and that was an easy pick. Like this game, The Witcher 3 is one of my favorite experiences ever in my life of playing a video game. So yeah, not an easy pick. So yeah, definitely shout out to that too. My God, what a
It's funny because both those games did change the industry in some way. I
Yeah.
think it was after Bloodborne that everything became a Soulsborne game.
Sure,
It is.
sure.
It's
From the
where
gameplay elements, and The Witcher 3, I think, really evolved
Oh my
storytelling in
God,
games.
what an amazing, incredible
I
experience.
think Bloodborne don't get me wrong, the Souls games were popular before Bloodborne. Like Dark Souls was
Yeah,
popular, Dark Souls 2 was even more popular. That's why it actually reviewed better, is
sure.
because the popularity was expanding.
Of course.
And then Bloodborne came out, and that is where I believe I agree with Jesse, where it started pulling in people that were like, I don't like Dark Souls. That's not my type of game. I don't like
Right,
Demon
right.
Souls.
Start grabbing them.
That's not for me. and it started pulling those ponies and going, maybe we should try it. And they started liking it, and then they started going to the Souls games. Um, this year was actually really hard for me because, like Rudy was saying, I know for a fact 2015, my game of the year was The Witcher 3.
Sure.
But I was also like Rudy. I was a day one on Bloodborne, but I was a little bit different than Rudy. Rudy was already probably established in the Souls franchises.
Yeah.
Probably had already beat Dark Souls, Dark Souls 2, maybe even Demon Souls. I had bought all three of those games, Demons, Dark, and Dark 2. Could not get into them because I sucked at them, didn't understand them. So I was very nervous buying Bloodborne, but I bought it. And then that's when I became, well, what I am today, which is completely obsessed with these games. I ended up listening and following Fighting Cowboy. I still
Oh,
do
I
to
love
this
that guy.
day.
Yeah, he's great.
And he kind of walked me through the game and shared with me, this is the systems, this is how it works, this is what you need to do to make yourself better and get good at this game. And that once it clicked, I was done. I beat that game 7 times. So I share that to say this. My 2015 game of the year has changed. It is no longer The Witcher 3. I rate Bloodborne more, and only because I'm not saying it's a better game. It's only because I come back to it more than The Witcher
Sure.
3, and I play through it and I beat it. And I hate the 30 frames per second and I hate the 1080p, but I can still do it. In fact,
Sure. It's that good, yeah.
I play too many games, guys. I was just playing Bloodborne last week as well, so I kind of fell into this whole.
That's how I feel about The Witcher 3. Like I've beat that game 4 times from beginning to end, including the expansions and everything.
I feel like both games are definitely can be replayed, but I think because of you played through The Witcher 3 one time, can you play it fast the second time? Of course. But Bloodborne, I feel like not only are you going to run through it quicker, but you're also better at it. You're stronger. You're going to like fly through it, you know? So I feel like Bloodborne lends itself
I
to
can fly through
replayability.
Bloodborne. Yep.
Yeah, easier. I'll do it for you right now. Jeez.
Absolutely. It's so much easier once you beat a Soulsborne game to go back into New Game Plus. It's always easier. Not only do you know the bosses, but you're usually more OP than them.
Of course, yeah.
So yeah, I agree with that. I have beat The Witcher 3 twice. I've started a third playthrough probably 17 times.
So good, man.
It's a really good game, and honestly, if I could give a tie, I would just say these are tied because it's based off of like how I feel. Like if I'm more into an open world RPG, I want The Witcher 3, and I love those characters and I love that world and that universe. If I want a game that I think has perfect combat and has the coolest lore and setting, it's Bloodborne, hands down. So both amazing games, and that's why I said 2015 was really, really hard for me to pick.
Yeah.
All right.
Well,
Go
Derek,
ahead.
sorry, I just want to say one last thing. One complaint that I hear about The Witcher 3, which I to this day I can't understand, and I don't know if maybe you guys, even though we all love this game, maybe you guys can shed some light on this, is, and I played it on PC, I don't know if it's different with the mouse and keyboard, I'm not sure, but people complain about the combat, and I could never understand it. I never got this. I tried to play The Witcher 1, by the way. When I was first starting this, I said, let me go back to The Witcher 1. Let me start from the beginning. I couldn't do it.
That's
The combat
way
did
different.
feel really bad in Witcher 1. Okay, I'll give that. So then I said, screw it. I'll just go straight to Witcher 3. And to me, it felt fine. I just had to learn how to play the game, just like Bloodborne.
It's
I
a
would
little.
learn
I think it's how Geralt moves.
Yes,
Like
he's
got a
little
lot
more
of weight
sluggish.
to him in the
he's
way
got
he
a
is.
yeah, but to me it just felt like any other game. Like you had to learn how to play the game. You know, I learned he's very
he
deliberate
doesn't-
about the way he swings. And
Yeah,
his
he
dodges
doesn't move like the problem is this is Messler influence. He's an idiot. He thinks that The Witcher 3 should have moved like Bloodborne. And
it
don't get me
shouldn't.
wrong,
It's a different
Bloodborne is
game.
very
Bloodborne's got
crisp.
fantastic combat. Yeah.
Yes. But I personally, and I'm not making excuses for it because I can go back and play it on console or PC. The Witcher 3 is fine. It does take a little time to get used to
Yeah.
like Jesse was saying, the way Geralt moves is almost like he's sliding with like a delay. There's
Right.
a little bit of a delay. Whereas like Bloodborne, it's like poof, poof, poof,
Right.
poof,
Right.
like
Right.
quick. It's real quick. Um, But overall, I still had so much fun with the combat. Like once you learn the systems, you learn
That's
how
all
it's
it is.
played. It's more of an RPG. It's got magic. It's got all that stuff.
Sure.
Um, I thought it was outstanding. I loved it.
I agree.
Now, if they released The Witcher 4 and it played exactly like The Witcher 3 today, current day,
Yeah, that might be.
I
Yeah.
would probably have some complaints like, guys, you didn't improve at all.
Sure. Sure.
So I do see that there could be improvements where I wouldn't say that about Bloodborne. I wouldn't be like, you guys didn't tweak this system at all. I'd be
Sure.
like,
Sure.
no, if it works. But I still think it was overly criticized because
Yeah.
it was being nitpicked because you're picking between two amazing games and they were
Right.
just trying to find one reason to hate on that game so their game won game of the year.
Sure.
And it's stupid. They're both doing completely different things. They're not even trying to accomplish the same goals
No,
at
not at
all.
all. Not at all.
So yeah, I get what you're saying. I've heard it too. I just ignore it because I'm like, you're just trying to find something to complain about. It's still an amazing game and
And
plays really good.
and on that note, on the other hand, I hear people who crap on Bloodborne saying stuff like, "Oh, the game doesn't even have a story." It's like the games are doing such different things, right? Like that's not the
Yeah.
focus. The focus is like the world building, the lore, and everything. So
There
both
is a
great games.
story, and I've said this before, I'll just say it again because I think it's important, especially if I can influence, even if it's just one person. If the Souls games were like real upfront about their story and they were like, we're a story-driven action game, I would be very frustrated with how much I die during those games.
Oh
The
yeah,
fact that the story is backseat and I'm in no rush to see how it plays out, whether there's a twist or anything like that, I'm just playing it for the gameplay. It helps with the way the game is designed. Like,
yeah, I
hey
agree.
guys, you guys are gonna die a lot. You're not supposed to move through this game fast. You have to grind. You have to do the same thing over and over to get better. The story is not the focus. It should never be the focus. It really shouldn't, in my opinion. It should always take a back seat because it should always be about, hey, this game is about difficulty. It's not about telling an amazing story. But they do have really, really cool lore.
The lore is
And they
awesome.
have
Yeah.
what they do really, really good that other games don't do, not just Bloodborne, just all their games in general, is the way they have so many secrets built into the games that even in a modern era where you can go on YouTube and type in how to do this and somebody will already have a video, it takes time for everybody to the community to figure out all the secrets of Souls games. That's how twisted and messed up they are as far as they're whacked out on like I have no idea who this NPC is. I don't know where they're at. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to give them this eyeball or I'm supposed to you don't know. It takes time and it takes a community to figure out those games and it's
Yeah.
something I feel like no other franchise can do that or does it anymore. All your secrets are revealed on day one. Like Mortal Kombat just to give an example, I love Mortal Kombat games. Why
Sure.
did I love them when I was younger? Well, they were violent. I loved it when I was violent. But it was also because I loved all their secrets,
Yeah,
and you
that's
didn't
cool.
know all the fatalities. In fact, I had EGM and Game Informer and Game Pro and all that stuff. They would tell me the fatalities. I had to wait months to get the fatalities. Otherwise, I had to figure them out on my own, which were almost impossible. Um, so there was all these secrets that would slowly come out, and that made it so satisfying once those secrets were revealed and you were able to unlock fatality or whatever. Um, Mortal Kombat can't do that anymore. If you play a Mortal Kombat game on day one, they reveal all the fatalities, they reveal all the endings, they reveal all the secret characters. There are
Yeah.
no secrets. And for me personally, I'm just speaking for me personally, it takes away from my love of what made those games so special when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Bloodborne and the Souls games, they've replaced that. I cannot figure them out in one day.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It takes a lot of time and effort for me to do it, and when I do it, it's extremely satisfying.
They're still
So,
discovering things. You're right. That's cool when they
yep.
do that.
All right, so let's move to 2016. This time it's Rudy starting. What do you got for 2016?
Okay, 2016. I was, you know what? Let me just. I was looking at the Game Awards nominees, but I want to look at a full list just to be sure. Jesse, what'd you type in? 2016.
I just did 2016 games.
Let me just be
Jesse, do
I
you
know
sure.
I'm
have
right.
yours?
Oh
Do you
yeah.
have yours? Go ahead and
I
give
just
it.
want to make sure because I wanted to make sure
Mhm.
I had a strong list here.
Take
Okay.
your time. But Jesse, go ahead and give us yours then.
Mine is Doom 2016. It's
Okay.
it was a little bit of a challenge picking one, but all at the end of the day, Doom 2016 is maybe the best shooter that's came out in the past 20 years. So it's right up there with one of the best games I've probably ever played. So it's Doom
I
2016.
I can't contest you too much. The only game,
Great
and
game.
you might not agree with me, but I think it's different as far as like Doom's faster, but as far as
Titanfall.
crispness and like speed and no, it's going to surprise you. For me, it's Halo Infinite. That's the
Ooh.
one I go back to when I'm in the mood for a first person shooter that feels so good, and then you've got the hook that you shoot out and you launches you and you freaking drop down and punch
Yeah,
them
I
right in
love
the
that.
face while they're like talking crap about your mom. It's so satisfying. But I do remember, I'm not a huge Doom fan, but Doom 2016 was one of them that was like, all right, this is legit. And then they released Doom Eternal, and I was like, no,
You're gonna get some
not for me.
pushback from me on that, but we'll get there. We'll get
You
there.
won't from
Okay.
me. But for me, it's with Doom 2016. It's the whole experience. Like you have that music that's just thumping. I've got my
Yeah.
surround sound system, so it's just the sound is all around me. It gets your blood boiling, and you're moving so fast, killing all of these things. It's just oh my god, it's like perfection.
All right, I need a
Good
cool
pick.
background like you guys. Hold on. Okay. Well, I'll find my game in the meantime. Okay, so I had my pick. I just wanted to be sure. So
Okay.
I had Dark Souls 3, which I thought was a great game. I will say, as I was playing Dark Souls 3, I did see a lot of things that I was like, I saw that in Dark Souls 1. I saw that in Dark Souls 2. It was like it almost felt like a fan service game. Now, that's not necessarily a negative. I loved it. I thought it was really cool. I saw a lot of familiar things, and it felt like it was taking a lot from the other games, and it felt like it sped things up a lot from Dark Souls 2. Um, and
Hmm.
it took some ideas from Bloodborne and some ideas from Dark Souls 2, and yeah, overall, I really liked it. Now, I don't say that as my pick with like such strong conviction. Like, I don't feel like this is my pick no matter what, 100%. There's some others that are close. Like the
What would
Witness,
be? I was gonna say what
I love
else?
The Witness. I really love those like cerebral puzzle games, and I think Jonathan Blow seems kind of like a jerk, but he seems like he's like a genius at the same time. I love that game a lot. I love The Last Guardian that came out this year too, even though it took forever to come out. And I love Inside, which these are all like really pretentious games, but I really love them a lot. So yeah, all three of those games. Shout outs to those.
I am definitely hovering on the block button with
Yeah,
your.
get ready to block
I'm
me.
like,
Hold on,
man,
let me
what a great pick with Dark Souls 3. And he's like, well, wait a
and then I go,
second.
wait, let me balance it out.
Let me name off three
Up your
games
own
that I
card
know
game.
Derek
Oh,
absolutely
hold on,
hates.
Derek.
Let me.
Derek, I'll fix it. I'll fix it for you. Hold on. Last one. Although it's not my favorite Uncharted, I think Uncharted 4, we got to give it
It's a
a
good
shout
game.
out because it is a very good game.
It's
Not my favorite
my.
Uncharted. It's one.
I
It's
know
a good game.
Jesse will agree with me. It's my least favorite Uncharted,
Yes,
but
that's one too.
I did enjoy it.
No,
So
I like it more than one. I don't like
I
all
I
you
three.
do
know
not.
I would have
No, wow.
disagreed, but when I went back and played one, I actually was like because I
I like
beat
it more than one.
four twice. I think I like four a little more than one because
Four
one is a little
plays
dated.
better. Yeah,
I like.
four
Yeah.
absolutely plays better.
I
But
think
even just the ending of one, I'm not gonna spoil it. I know
right.
it's an old game, but just the path it goes down with like the enemies and stuff, I was like, this is so stupid. Like the beginning, like the first 2/3 of the game is
Yeah.
awesome. It's
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
good. And then the last third is where I kind of got
For
turned
me,
off by it.
it goes 2, 3, 4, 1, and then the Vita one, which I actually played, which was okay.
I could not get through the Vita one.
It was okay.
I actually liked was it the
Oh, the
Lost?
Lost Legacy. That's a good one too.
Yeah,
Actually,
that's
that
a
was good.
really good one.
That was pretty good. I like
Yeah.
that one. Forgot about that. So yeah.
So for me, it's Dark Souls 3.
Oh,
Good
really?
Um,
game.
I thought I knew which one you're gonna pick, but it was not that one.
I thought Dark
which
Souls
one
3
did
was a
you
good
think
one.
it was gonna be?
Final Fantasy 16.
No, for 2016.
Final Fantasy 15. Sorry.
15. Oh.
Oh, I did like it, but I do remember on my podcast, I remember it was Tim, me, and Dan Phillips. We did the Game of the Year show, and Dan and I destroyed Tim, broke his heart by pushing Dark Souls 3 over and over. But Final Fantasy 15 would probably. Here's why it's kind of the same thing. Now, I may have picked Final Fantasy back then. I think I picked Dark Souls 3, but I would say it's easy for me to pick Dark Souls 3 now as a current gamer because it's like I still go back to it and replay
It's a
it.
good game, man.
Every time I try to go back to Final Fantasy 15, and I have it on PC, so it looks modern, it plays modern, it's good. I I put over 100 hours into that game on PS4, and I just can't do it now. It's
Hmm.
almost like I went overboard when it launched and became like such a fanboy. It's hard for me to go back to it. I don't think it's a bad game, but it's not as I don't love it as much as I did back then. So I probably Jesse's probably right. I probably did pick it as my personal game of the year,
Right.
but now I would definitely switch it to Dark Souls 3 because I just freaking love Dark Souls 3. And I do remember this. I have actually a Facebook memory where I posted like a boss that I beat in Dark Souls 3, and I remember this was my first Souls game that I was playing at launch that I was actually good at. Because remember, I had told you I was learning how to play Bloodborne. So at launch, I was actually good at Souls games when this one came out. And I remember posting it and Rudy commenting on my post, and be like, "You're getting good, man." I was like,
Oh, I remember that.
"Yeah,
Yeah, I remember.
I
I
am,
always
man."
love this is what I try to tell Jesse, and I know it's hard to balance all the people who are so freaking annoying in the Souls group, but there are people like this that are genuinely happy to see someone come in and start getting good at it. There's like a good amount of us out there, and then there's the people who just make it not
The
like
Good,
Souls
that.
good,
Souls fans are
good, good.
fine as long as you like Souls games. If you don't like Souls games, then they're
No, we're
insufferable.
not all like that. There's people who have come in and tried it, and they're like, "I'm out," and I'm like, you know what? I'm glad you gave it a shot. It's all
I
good.
think I've gotten to the point where my opinion of it is I really do believe. I know people say it's not a game for me. Okay, I get it. I get what you're saying. I still believe this is just my opinion that if the person actually puts in the time and the effort, it's automatically that this game would be for them. The part that makes it not the game for them is they don't want to put in the effort, and that's fine. I've gotten to the point where I'm like, that's your choice. But I do believe if somebody puts in the effort and got good at them, I think it's a game for everybody. I really do because it's an action third person uh, game, and those are the most popular games out there. It's just this one is a little bit harder, but again, once you get good at it, you
Well, if,
become
I get what you're
the
saying. If you like an action game, right?
yeah,
If you don't like those kinds of games at all, then yes. But if you do like a game where you have to put an input in, where you fight enemies and get good at it,
yeah.
and you learn how to do that in
He's
this
talking
particular
about me.
game, yeah, I know because I've seen Jesse play games where he has to do that and he's good at it. This guy can beat Halo Legendary by himself, right? So I know
Yeah.
he can do this. But
He
yeah,
doesn't want to, which is fine.
that's fine. Yeah.
I play co-op with him, and he finds joy out of doing co-op, like whatever game we play. I know I played Bloodborne with him, Code Vein. I have Lords of the Fallen downloaded, ready to go to co-op with him. So I know he likes those games, but I'm not just talking about you, Jesse. I'm talking in general. I
Yeah.
truly believe that if a person puts in the effort, I'm saying I understand not wanting to because it takes a lot of effort. And for me, it was almost like homework. But the reason it didn't feel like homework is because I had a desire to do it. If you don't have a desire to do it, I get it. But I have never met somebody who's like really good at Souls games and said, it's a really bad game. I just really got good at them, or I'm just naturally good at them, but they're all bad. I've never met anybody. If you learn how to play them and you're good at them, every single person likes them. Every single person likes because they're good games. So that's my take on it. But I'm definitely and Jesse's in private chats with me. He knows I don't I don't condemn him and Rob for being terrible at video games. I mean they are. They truly are. But I'm not pretentious
Let's
that
see
way
you
at all.
beat Halo solo on
Yeah,
Legendary.
I give him full credit. I consider myself to be really good at video games,
That's not
but you'll
happening.
never see me beat freaking Halo Legendary by myself.
Bro, I have
I
no problem
do it.
admitting that I get overwhelmed when I'm playing a shooter like Call of Duty, anything like that, and like
Yeah,
20 different guys are
yeah.
shooting at me. I'm like, who's shooting me? I have no idea who's shooting me. This is so freaking annoying.
I could beat freaking Super Meat Boy 100% and I could beat Elden Ring, but no. I cannot do Halo on Legendary. No, no, I don't have the patience to do that shit.
I'll be hiding behind a rock the entire time, never moving
No
forward.
freaking way.
Before we move on, I just want to give a shout out to a couple other games.
Yeah, go ahead.
Dishonored 2, which
Ooh,
I think
amazing.
is a
Love that
great game.
Super good game.
Deus Ex Mankind Divided, which
I love that game.
I think it's a damn shame that game didn't sell
so
because
mad
we
about
deserve
that.
another one.
Really do.
Did you see the new game that's coming out that almost looks like Deus Ex and is actually voiced by the guy who plays the main
Really?
protagonist in
I
Deus
don't
Ex?
think so.
Yeah, they just released a trailer. Check it out. I don't remember the name,
Let
but
me see if I
it's
can
like
find it.
so all you have to do is look up the actor's name. So whoever the Deus Ex Mankind Divided main actors, look up his newest game, watch the trailer, listen to him talk, and then look at how it's done, and it feels like Deus Ex.
Huh.
But yeah, I 100% agree with both those games. Absolutely love Dishonored too.
Last two, Quantum Break and Gears of War 4 also.
I forgot about Quantum Break, man. What a game.
I didn't love Quantum Break as much. I still think it's a good game, but I didn't love it as much. But Gears 4.
I thought it got unfairly crapped on when it released.
I agree.
I thought it was doing something unique and cool.
I agree.
So I still think it's a good game, and I probably would like it more because I'm forgetting their names. Who's the developer?
Oh, Remedy.
Remedy.
Yeah.
I like their
I
stuff.
love Remedy.
The way I work is like I always play a Remedy game at launch and hate it. Not hate it like hate it, but I suck at it, so I get frustrated, and then I come back to it and play it, and then I end up loving it. It's both Alan Wakes were that way. Control was that way. I remember on Current Gen when I was doing the podcast, Kyle, all of them were pushing for Control so good. I'm like, shut up, it's not that great. And then I came back years later and played it. I was like, dude, this is one of the best shooters. He's so freaking good.
I
It's
also
so
have to
good.
say, when Control was out, I played it and beat it, and I saw a bunch of people, including Jesse, saying how amazing it was, and I always be like, it's okay. I have to retract that statement and say that game's incredible. I was wrong. I thought it was good. It's actually
like a superhero shooter game. It's so freaking good.
The story is so much
great.
deeper than I originally thought and better. So yes, I was wrong.
Yeah, I do like how they connect their universes.
So
that
cool.
goes back to like that mysterious stuff that I like. I like that they drop Easter eggs and you're like, well, is this connected to that? And I love that. So yeah, great. That was another great year. But
2016 is sneaky good. I think 2016 isn't as fondly remembered because 2015 was so good, but
2017 is
2016
freaking crazy.
Yeah, it's stuffed between two really hard years.
Yeah,
2017 is crazy. So let's.
I can't wait to get you guys mad with my game of the year of 2017.
Well, let's go back now to Rudy. He was supposed to do 2016, but he was still picking his. So let's do 2017.
Okay, yeah. 2017. Okay, so might surprise you guys here, but I originally had Breath of the Wild, which is one of my all-time favorite games ever. However, since then, I picked a game up called Nier Automata, and this game is one of my all-time favorite games. The game has I haven't stopped thinking about this game. And I think
because you keep looking up her skirt. I know what you're doing.
That's what
I know what you're doing.
I think I have like 70 hours in the game. I spent like a good 60 just climbing the ladder.
69 hours of you just climbing ladders and going, come on, a little bit higher, baby. Go a little bit higher.
It's very rare that I go to the game, play a game later on that was from a year and change my mind. But yeah, I think that's what happened here. And I loved Breath of the Wild. That game was so incredible. But man, I think I did change my mind with this game. I just think I think it's a perfect game. I know it's so weird. I don't expect people to agree with me. That's just how I feel about it. I feel like the game's story is top notch.
What I think is unfortunate about how people approach Nier Automata is when you have to beat the game essentially again, but with the other character. I think that's when a lot of people dropped off. And
I dropped off. I beat it the first time with her. And then everybody's like, you don't see the real ending until you play it 27 times. And I was like, yeah, that's not going to happen, bro.
Yeah.
I'm good.
I feel like people need to understand that it's instead of thinking of it as, you're playing the game 3 times, they need to think of it as you're reading chapter 1 out of 3 chapters, right? Like they need to communicate that in a better way. Maybe they do say at the end of the credits, they say like, hey, you need to keep going, whatever. Maybe they need to find a better way to sort of, I don't know how they could do it better, but whatever the way they need to do it, you need to see it through, because
I think more people would have done it if the second and third playthroughs were a little more condensed.
Yeah,
if you didn't have to play literally the entire game again.
Yeah, so what I noticed when I played it, maybe I'm not the best example because I was enjoying it so much, so I didn't really care. But I noticed my first playthrough was quite long because I was doing all the side quests and everything. My second and third, though, because I had done all that, were pretty quick. It didn't take me long. And the second one is 9S, different perspective. It was quite different, and I flew through it because I wasn't doing all that stuff. And the third one was quicker than that. But yes, I agree with your assessment. If you played Nier Replicant, it was even worse, right? Because that was the first time they had ever done it. So if they ever make another Nier game, I think they need to streamline it a little better or make it a little more different.
But
whatever.
I'm on board with you. Nier Automata is an incredible game. It's not my game of the year, but that is an incredible game.
I just think, God, they just did so many. I feel like, what other game have you played where the genre of the game switches so many times? It's like at one point it's like a 3D action game, then it's like a 2D you're flying in a ship shooting, then it's like it changes constantly, then it's like
a sneaky good story too.
Oh my God, so good, and there's so much like philosophy in the game that you didn't even know. These are like real people they're referencing, and I don't know, I just think it's incredible, man. So yeah, I never thought I would change my mind from Breath of the Wild, but and don't get me wrong, Breath of the Wild is, man, that's a hell of a game, so yeah. That's my.
I would have contested you years ago, but I did beat one playthrough of it and started to come around. And even Replicant is actually a fun game too.
So
I haven't beat it. I will beat it eventually. I have them both on PC installed. I'll get to them down the road.
Sure.
It won't be anytime soon, but I know I'll do it.
It's funny. I'm one of those few that actually like the original version of Nier Replicant more than the remake, because I like the dad
the one on 360.
Oh yeah.
I like the dad perspective more than the brother perspective.
Okay. Yep. Fair enough. I wanted to just before my turns over, shout out 2 games real quick. So
yeah, go.
Hollow Knight is another one that to me is an incredible game. It feels kind of like probably one of my favorite Metroidvanias ever. I think it's like the cream of the crop. And another one is Prey, which came out this year too, which totally under the radar. No one expected it to be as good as it is. These are the same people that made didn't they make is Prey the same team that made Dishonored and all that?
Yeah.
They're the ones that did Redfall, and they did
which
Dishonored, The Outsider.
The Death of the Outsider, which was great. So yeah.
They are a good developer. I mentioned Redfall first. That's their only failure. All their other stuff they've touched has always been good quality stuff.
Yep. Yeah, Hollow Knight. That's why 2017 is so hard for me. And Super Mario Odyssey is the other one. Those games I just mentioned right there.
2017.
Oh my God, and Horizon Zero Dawn, which I love. My God, this is so hard. Resident Evil 7, I forgot.
Well, that's why I wanted to do this. Like, as soon as I heard him do this, I was like, every time I have people on, when they're new, obviously, I'm gonna do this because I want to hear what games they pick and why, because I think it's such an interesting conversation, and it's a lot of pressure to be like, I gotta pick one game from like 20 games that I think are amazing right now.
The last one before I give it to one of you guys is Mario Kart 8, and I have to shout that game out because what that game has done in the last 7 years is freaking crazy. Like the amount of units it's sold is already ridiculous. It's like 60 million or something ridiculous. And then not only did they come out with DLC for like 4 waves, then they came back to the game like 5 years later and they added another, I don't know how many tracks they added again. It's like the game that doesn't. It's like the opposite of what you think of when you think of Nintendo. You think of Nintendo being super cheap. Well, not with this game. This game is like the ultimate value pack, So yeah, shout out to them. So yeah, great year for games, man. Crazy.
Yep. All right, Jesse. Now the pressure's on you. I mean, I know it's not going to be.
I covered everyone except the one Jesse's going to pick. I know.
I know he's not going to pick Breath of the Wild. So what do you got for 2017?
What is he going to pick?
By a landslide runaway victory, my game of the year is Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice.
Oh What? I never would have imagined.
what that game did for sound, audio, storytelling, even on um, a really small budget, being able to produce a game that looks as good as that game does
That's true.
for a budget title, that game absolutely blew my mind when I first played it. Absolutely blew me away. It's one of my favorite games I have ever played.
Yeah, I know that, but is there any other games outside of that one, or is that's the only one that stuck out for you for 2017?
Was it close at all with anything else or no?
No, that game was nothing else is close, but there are other games that I like Little Nightmares. Have you guys
love
played
that
that?
game.
Yeah,
Love
that game
that
was
game so
surprisingly
much.
good. I liked Prey. Um, Uncharted Lost Legacy was that year.
Yes, yep.
Horizon Zero Dawn, and of course Nier. Yeah, this is a great year of games.
I feel like 2017. I'm not saying the other platforms didn't have good games. They did, but it was more of a Nintendo year because you've got Breath of the
Zelda
Wild,
and
which was
Mario.
a huge release for them because it was completely different from all their other Zelda games. Then on
Oh,
top of that, you released Super Mario Odyssey, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, Xenoblade Chronicles 2.
I
Like
forgot
the
about that.
Switch was like killing it that year.
Also,
Um,
shout out to Pyre,
Oh
which
God,
was a
love that
great game
game.
from that year.
Love that game.
Also,
Forgot about that one.
well, I
South Park, The
am.
Fractured Butthole, Dragon Quest 11. Just this year was game after game of bangers.
So crazy.
I know people hate on it, but Mass Effect Andromeda was fun.
Yeah.
That was what I was waiting for. I was like, where's this shout out for
God,
Andromeda?
that game got so much hate.
But it's actually a really good
Unfairly,
game.
it got
I like Mass Effect Andromeda. I never beat it though.
My original top 3 from 2017 was Andromeda at 3, Horizon Zero Dawn at 2, and then Breath of the Wild at 1. That was back in 2017 when we did the Game of the Year, or we did it in 2018.
Oh, that's the one I
Uh,
did with you guys, I think. I remember that.
yeah, I'm pretty sure you were on.
Yeah.
I now would say
There we
it's
go.
still Breath of the Wild. I still, even though
Breath of the Wild is so good.
I think Tears of the Kingdom is the better of those two games. I still think Breath of the Wild is an absolutely amazing experience. And this was really hard, and here's why, because it goes back to a lot of the logic I used on my other picks. I have beat Horizon Zero Dawn like 3 times, 3 or 4 times. So I do come back to that game continuously. I've beaten Andromeda 3 times. So that's another one I come back to. I really love that game. I'm a big fan of it. But at the end of the day, I still believe Breath of the Wild is the better overall experience. It's just I can't explain it. It
That's how
could
I
be
feel too.
nostalgia, but it's just how I feel about those games.
Obviously we don't have time for a whole discussion, but one thing that I can point out about those two games, because I played both of those games a lot, is when I played Horizon Zero Dawn, and I really liked Horizon Zero Dawn. When you are at any given place in Horizon Zero Dawn, I felt that the open world in Horizon Zero Dawn is so samey. Everywhere you are in that place,
Hmm.
the same thing. When I look at the world of Zelda, it is so unique at any given place you are. And you're in the Gerudo Desert, you're in the Goron Mountains, you're in the Zora's Domain, you're in the village, the Kokoriko Village. Every place is so unique. There's so many different things going on. That's why I love the world of Zelda so much more, you know? To me, that's a big standout between those two games. Now, Horizon Zero
Yeah.
Dawn, of course, it looks better. Well, it looks better in terms of graphical, like,
Yeah, fidelity.
prowess, right? Yeah.
Hmm.
Um, but I remember Horizon just getting crushed because of its proximity to Zelda. And then they did it again with what was it, Elden Ring this time? Like
Yeah,
they just need to
Forbidden
pick
West
they
first.
need
I
to
liked
pick
Horizon more. I thought it would just had a better fun factor for me personally.
Well,
Sure.
I think it goes back to, and we talked about it earlier, these two games are doing two different things. So
Right.
again,
Yeah,
they're
Two
getting
completely
compared
different things.
because,
yeah,
yeah,
true.
they're getting compared because they're
Just
released the
because they
same
came out
year.
near
I
each other.
get it. You have to pick one game, whatever. But Breath of the Wild, I agree with Rudy. If you're playing a game for, and I've said this many, many times when I talk about Zelda, the reason I love Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom is it takes me back to my days of being a boy and just I used to go out and to my cousin's backyard. His backyard was like he had like acres and acres of land. So I'm not talking about like just like a little backyard. We're talking like it was swamps and woods. Like we could
That's
have
awesome.
died back there and our parents wouldn't have known. That's how far away we were from them. But anyways, it took me back to those days where him and I would just go and explore and run into rattlesnakes, and we would shoot fireworks at each other in an open field, and that was, we were just exploring. So that's why I love the Zelda or Breath of the Wild. It's a game about exploration. It's about discovering things. Whereas when I'm playing Zero Dawn, and again I've beat it 3 times, I'm not playing it to explore. I'm not saying I don't like the open world. I think it's still a beautiful game and it's cool to look at, but I'm not checking every nook and cranny because it is by the numbers, like
Everything's
open
labeled
world.
for you. It
Yeah.
doesn't have
It's
a sense
not
of
about
direction.
exploration, but it's also doing something different from Zelda. So to give like kind of a positive spin to Zero Dawn and a little bit of negative one with Breath of the Wild, there's really no plot to Breath of the Wild that I care about. Like there is a plot, but I don't care about it.
Right.
Zero Dawn
Had a good
really
one.
had a good story.
Sure.
Like especially as you started unraveling the mystery of the people before their time and they were trying to figure out why all this stuff happened. I was like, this is really good. So I thought the combat in Zero Dawn was more fun to play, and I thought the story was better. But Breath of the Wild was more unique, not just in exploration, that was what I was talking about, but also just all the systems that they have, all the weather systems, all the combat systems, all the way you had to actually use your brain. You couldn't just like walk into an area with a bunch of enemies and just shoot an arrow at them. Like you had to think things through and go, how can I wipe these guys out efficiently because they're probably going to wipe me out if they see me. So there was a lot more to me thought into Breath of the Wild. But yeah, both games doing amazing things. They're just doing two different things, and I think they do both of them really, really well. Which then now brings, by the way, guys, because I know we can't go forever. I don't care if we stay on this, and if I bring you back on for another show and we
Yeah.
do a more deep dive into what are you playing, we can do that.
Yeah,
It's
this is
totally
fun.
fine. This is fun, so I don't care. So don't feel like you have to rush. So let's move to 2018.
Okay.
And now I'm confused. I think we're at Jesse. Jesse, you're first, right?
So 2018 is probably out of this whole exercise the year that's the hardest for me
Okay.
Okay.
because
Interesting.
for me personally, 28. I mean, don't get me wrong. 2018 had a lot of really great games, but this is one of the few years that, for me personally, didn't have a game that was like transcendent,
Okay.
Okay.
that was just clearly above the rest. So on a different day, I might pick something different, but for right now, I'm going to pick Pillars of Eternity 2: Dead Fire,
Interesting.
which is a game that I thoroughly enjoy the world. You play as a character that actually interfaces with the gods of the world, and there's a lot of politics that you have to navigate with the story, and combat is competent. I really, really enjoyed that game. I've played through it twice. Makes me very interested in Avowed, given that it's in the same universe.
Yeah, it's Obsidian. Yeah. I always wanted to play that one, and it makes sense that it's your pick just because
I did not expect you to say that.
that's totally old school RPG,
Yeah.
story driven, choices matter. I
Yeah.
did
Right.
play like 3 hours like on the PS4, and I remember raving about it because of some choice I had to make so early on, and I wasn't familiar with the game at that time that I was playing it, so it was like huge impact on me. And then when I played Baldur's Gate 3 last year, I was like, I need to go back to these Pillars games because they're very similar vibe. Yes, they don't pull off the presentation like Baldur's Gate 3, which is exactly why I would pick Baldur's Gate 3 over them.
Yeah.
But as far as choices, story, characters, impact on the decisions you make and how they
They're right
influence the
there.
world, yeah. Good pick.
But shout out
I was gonna say
to
any other shout outs.
shout out to God of War, Marvel's Spider-Man, and Octopath Traveler though.
Good choices.
All right, good choices for sure. Rudy, what you got for 2018?
Okay, so I originally had God of War, which I still
Hmm.
think is a really great game. But upon really thinking about it, I think Red Dead 2 is my pick. I think that game
Yep.
is just on another level. When I really think about that game, I just think it was an incredible experience. I think the story was so good.
Overrated.
Did you come back and play it again, or
um,
is this just you changing your mind like years later and going, you know what? I
so
think Red Dead's better.
I played it right away, but I think it's just over the years I've just it's been on my mind, and I've gone back and messed with it a bit. I haven't played it through all the way again. I've watched like a lot of videos on it and stuff, and I don't know. I just kind of have rethought about it. I don't know. Jesse, what I'm just curious, what makes you think that? Is it the gameplay? Is it something in particular, or
It's a
what
lot of the
makes you feel like?
gameplay. It's just too damn
Yeah,
slow.
I don't know. I really, to me, when you'd have to, for example,
I'd be like trying to go through a door and he just like
he like
plows through it.
plows through
Yeah.
it. I remember that. To me, like I guess what it was about Red Dead 2 that I love so much is everything was so intentional. Like when you'd have to, ride out with your boys over to this new area, and it was pretty far away, and you'd have to trot. You couldn't even, gallop. I was listening, like I was like hanging on every word they're saying, and I was going real slow, and I had no problem with it. And when I'd go hunt for a bear, and I'm skinning them, and everything's so slow and in detail, like I didn't have a problem with that. I don't know. I loved every. I felt like every little bit of it was purposely done. There's only one part in the game that I felt was like, was this really necessary? And I'm not spoiling anything, but there's like a chapter that's kind of like aside, towards the end of the game, and I was like, I don't know if that really was needed. But man, I thought the story was so good. I thought the gameplay was so excellent. And there's still, to this day, still discovering things in this game, which again, I love games like that,
It's a really good game. It
Very
really
well
is.
made.
I like crapping
I
on it, but
had
it's a game that when I was playing it, I just wanted to be like, I want to play a video game.
Yeah, I totally understand if some
so
people
you
don't
you want to play
potentially.
Deliverance is what you want to play. Is that the game that's coming out that's super
No,
realistic?
Come
Kingdom
Deliverance.
Come, yeah.
Yeah,
Kingdom Come, yeah, yeah. But
no, that game is awful.
yeah, I've heard that game is
I
hard to
played
get
the
into.
first one, yeah.
Um,
It's a
but
little
yeah,
rough.
that's my pick. God of War is phenomenal. Obviously, really love that game. I want to shout out A Way Out, which I played with my buddy. That game was so much fun to play with
It
a
was
friend.
fun.
Really like that. I know It Takes Two took it to a new level, but A Way Out was really cool. It had like the it has a really cool twist at the end, which I thought was cool. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. I've put hundreds of hours into that game. I think it's the best like fighter party game there is, and Spider-Man, which was obviously a great entry. So yeah, good pick.
I own Super Smash Bros. And it's literally still in its wrapper. So
Dude.
it's not just that I haven't played it. I haven't even opened it. It's just sitting
Yo,
in its wrapper.
you guys have to understand. I've been playing Smash Bros since like 1998. Like my brother and I were
I,
hardcore Smash Bros.
yeah.
We used to play that, go to tournaments, all that stuff. So yeah, it's always been a thing. So yeah,
So funny thing is with 2018, this was a rough year for me personally. Like my personal life fell
right,
apart.
right,
So I struggled to play video games. In fact, I
sure.
stopped podcasting. So I don't think I even picked the game of the year that year. But if I had to go by like how I probably felt as far as what I actually played. I
Sure.
struggled with Red Dead that year because it was so slow and I was
Right,
struggling to play games. I was like, I can't play this.
right, right,
Even God of War, I really struggled with that one because it literally launched when I was going through what I was going through.
right.
So my standout was actually Forza Horizon 4 because it was so
Okay.
laid back. I could just put music on, and Far Cry 5 was another one where it's just like turn it on, go shoot like a cult leader. But those are not my game of the year. Those are just fun games, but they're not ones that I can pick for game of the year. So coming back and like enjoying Red Dead Redemption 2 and God of War more, I actually settled on God of War as my game of the year. I
Okay.
do give a shout out to Red Dead Redemption 2. It is slow, but it is a gorgeous game.
It is
It
gorgeous.
is like especially dude, not even being a PC elitist when you boot it up on PC with all the bells and whistles on, it's like it feels like real life.
I
It's
haven't done that
really,
yet. Should
you
do
got
that.
to do it, bro. It's so gorgeous. It's a really good looking game. Um, I'm a big fan of Octopath Traveler. I think that's a great game. So I do think
And that's
2018
not
is
a
a good year.
typical Derek game.
No, but it was 2 that got me into it. Octopath
I
Traveler
have
2.
too. I've played a bit of it. It's really good.
Yeah, I put like 70 hours into 2. I beat one story, and then I was like, once I started getting to the end of the other stories and losing to their bosses, I was like,
I'm
I'm
good.
out. This game. And then Dan, who's way better at JRPGs than me, he beat the game, and that's after you beat all the stories, you come together as a group to fight one last boss, and he said that boss was nearly impossible. I was like, I'm really out. Like, if you're struggling,
If
I'm
there's a
out.
boss after the bosses I can't beat, no, I'm good.
Yeah, I'm good. But God of War is an amazing game. I've beat that one, I think, now 3 times. The last time I beat it on PC. I do. I love buying all the Sony games on PC and coming back and playing them on there because it's just it.
The
They really do publish the best looking games, especially when you play them on PC. They're just gorgeous. So God of War is an amazing game. So it's definitely my 2018 pick.
God of War, I will say, has one of the biggest oh shit moments of the last 10 years. That moment when he goes back home and he
Oh, it's
gets
so
the
cool.
blades of chaos. That's
Yeah.
like one of the biggest, like, oh, here we go kind of
Yeah,
moments.
yeah. I feel like that would be cool even if you've never even if you have no point of reference for the previous God of War games
Yeah.
at all. So the fact that if you have that point of reference, then it would be even
Hmm.
amazing, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
It's pretty phenomenal how much they changed that franchise and the fact that they're able to pull it off.
yeah,
And then for most people, not only to like the game, but to say it's better than the original trilogy plus 700 other little God of War games, uh, is amazing. And they did it. They did it with God of War, and they did it with Ragnarok, in my opinion, as well.
pretty
All
awesome.
right, let's do 2019. What do you got? We're gonna start with Rudy on this one.
All right, 2019. So I have Sekiro, which man, this game is easily one of the top just out of
Is it
all the
your
souls.
favorite from soft type game?
It's my favorite from soft type game. I'd say besides Elden Ring, probably. Um,
Okay.
honestly, even with Elden Ring included, the only thing that puts Elden Ring above it for me is like the scope of Elden Ring. It's kind of hard to compare those, but in terms of like the combat and what you're doing from moment to moment, I think Sekiro is like way above the rest. I think Sekiro like perfected it. You know, to me, there's a moment in Sekiro, and I'm sure you know it because you played it. When you get to that first skill check, maybe like 6 or 7 or 8 hours into the game where you fight the
I know who
Genichiro
you're
dude.
talking about. Yeah.
Like Jesse, I know you haven't played it, but think of like an anime where like the protagonist like finally, like you're like 8 or 9 episodes in, and the protagonist goes to fight like the big bad for the first time. It's freaking crazy. Like you literally have to like ching 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 ching. You're
Yep.
you're parrying every hit, and you're jumping behind them, and you're getting the hits. The battle is so epic, and you literally cannot progress until you fight this guy. But it's so cool because when you beat him, you get this like whatever when people post and like online and they say, "Oh, From Soft games are so cool. I beat my first boss. There's no feeling
Hmm.
like this." This is like times 100 because
That
Sekiro
boss is for sure.
really. Oh yeah, Sekiro takes it to a new level, and in Sekiro you can't co-op, you can't even level up in Sekiro. You can just level up your abilities. So it really is a test of. But on the other hand, they give you some tools to work with, right? You can sneak
Mhm.
up on enemies. You can kill them. You can use your grapple. There's some verticality, right? So they kind of make it a little easier in that sense too. It is a hard game, but I think Sekiro is so cool because they change it up. There is more of a story. The story is more in your face, and it's like a Japanese culture thing. And don't even get me started on the final boss. The final boss is the most exhilarating thing I've ever freaking done in my life. My God. But yeah, it's a fantastic game. One of my absolute favorites. Um, Also, shout out to God. There's so many good games. Control, as we talked about. Metro Exodus, great game. Was there any others this year? I absolutely hated Anthem. I just want to shout out how much I hated that game. So I want to shout that out.
I thought
Uh,
about joking around saying that was my game of the year, but that game is garbage.
You know what? I enjoyed the campaign. Now I did check out after the campaign, but I did have fun. But yes, I have no
um,
problem admitting it was pretty rough.
I couldn't get into it. And finally, Disco Elysium, one of my favorite games. Really love that game. So
What
yeah,
about Days Gone, Rudy? You already
Days Gone.
bashed it.
You know, I joked around about Days Gone, but I did have
It's
fun.
actually a good game.
It's a
It's such a
decent
fun
game.
game.
I'm just
It's
surprised
fun.
that they brought Days Gone over, but not Bloodborne. And Astral Chain was the other one. That was a Nintendo game that I thought
Astral
was
Chain was cool.
really cool. Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of them that I need to get to. It was actually on the podcast I was listening to. One of the guys picked that as their game of the year for that year, and I was like, "That's right, I have that game. I should probably play it."
And in case Derek doesn't mention it, I remember Derek talking about Greedfall. I never played that game, but I see it's mentioned here. So Derek, in case you bring that up, I'd like to hear about it. So
Yeah. Well, I'll let Jesse go
yeah,
first.
go ahead, Jesse.
What you got?
So 2019's hard just because a lot of the games that I think really highly of for the past 10 years land in 2019. So I'll just shout out some before I say which one's my favorite. Control, which is great. It's just such a fun game with a very interesting story. Devil May Cry 5, that's very Bayonetta style kind of action, just super fast paced, wicked fun. Gears 5, which is probably in a gameplay way the best the Gears has been,
I liked it
gameplay
more than
wise.
4.
Yeah. Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, which is not the best, but one of the best Star Wars games ever made. Code Vein, which is my favorite Souls-like that I've ever played.
You should play
Great.
it.
Yeah.
It's really good. But my game of the year is Disco Elysium.
Oh, I was wrong. See, I first thought yours was going to be Jedi Fallen Order, and then when you said shout out to it, then I was like, oh, it's Outer Worlds. That fits, a Jesse type game. It's an old school Obsidian RPG, but it's first person shooter. So, I am caught off by Disco Elysium.
Such a good game.
I've played through Disco Elysium twice now, and
fantastic.
The way that you can play that game twice, and I mean, the basic story beats play out the same, but it can feel like a completely different game based on how you approach it. And I think that if I played it a third time, it would still feel like a completely different game based on the choices you can make, the way you can role play it. It's really a pretty incredible game.
Is it a long game? I couldn't get into it. I only played like a few hours.
I think my playthrough was like 30 hours. And Jesse, tell me if this is not true. Derek, you can walk into a store in Disco Elysium, right? And you can have the intention of, hey, I want to go strike up a conversation with the clerk and just see what they're all about, right? And you might get distracted by the cupboard that has a board game in it. And you go to the board game and you start asking questions to yourself about the board game, and you might be there for 45 minutes asking questions. You literally can do that. The game has like over 1 million lines of dialogue. It's freaking ridiculous.
It's insane, and it's all
voice acting, which is so crazy.
And the voice acting is incredible.
It's so
That's
good.
Pretty impressive, actually.
It's really, really impressive.
I was ready to bash you guys, but maybe you convinced me to pretend like I'm gonna play it, but I definitely am never.
At least don't pretend for us, okay?
At some point, I have to like cut it off. Like, there's just too many games that I'm like, damn, I haven't played that.
No, I know.
Man,
it's too crazy.
play that.
Can't.
All right, so that's some good picks. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'll give some shout outs because I would agree with you guys. This was a really, really good year. I'm having trouble saying that this one's my game of the year, so I'm gonna give shout outs. First of all, I want to shout out Borderlands 3. When this game came out, I'm a big Borderlands fan. I was not in love with it. It was actually kind of a letdown. I thought the dialogue was kind of lame, and it was still Borderlands, so it was actually fun to play. But I didn't love the villains. I won't say I didn't like the villains. I don't like how they utilized the villains. I felt like they should have been cooler, but that's also me comparing them against Handsome Jack, and I don't think there's many villains that can ever match Handsome Jack as far as being a badass. But I went back to it and played Borderlands 3 just under a month ago. Played through the entire campaign, completely hooked, beat it all in 1 week, did as much side content as I could. I absolutely loved it. I actually enjoyed the humor even more. So I just think it's a great game. I also want to give a shout out to Resident Evil 2. I think they did an amazing job with the remake on that one. And I played that one I think twice. Days Gone, I actually really, really like that game. I beat that a couple of times. I think it's great. Just to talk about Greedfall, it's not my game of the year, but Greedfall, if you like old school RPGs where your choices matter, even though this is definitely a double A experience, it's not a triple A experience. The story, the characters, and the choices, the weight of the choices you make, especially when you get to the end, really, really matter. And I absolutely respect the developers to be able to pull that off when they are not what I would consider a triple A publisher or developer that has all the sources, has the best talent. I think they just keep getting better every time they launch a game. And Greedfall 2 is actually supposed to be coming out in the next month or so on
Yeah, I was just gonna
PC.
say they
So I'm real
created a
excited.
really cool world. The world that they created with Greedfall is pretty
I
cool, and
heard,
it's
yeah.
got me pretty interested in Greedfall too.
And they're changing the combat completely in Greedfall 2. So I'm very interested in seeing how that turns out and whether they improve in all the other areas. Now, for my game of the year, it is Sekiro, but it is, let me say this. I'm going to talk out of both sides of
I
my
thought you
mouth.
might pick the Division.
No, no, no.
You were big into that game for a while, weren't
I
you?
enjoyed
I
it, but I wasn't.
enjoyed it, but I love
I wouldn't pick
Destiny
it
way
as.
more. I fell off that way too early. Plus, I've noticed with me, whenever it comes to like Game of the Year awards and stuff like that, I never pick like just like fun like games that I don't have any emotional attachment to. What I
Right.
mean by that is I'm never going to pick Rocket League, even though I played that for like 8 years straight. I'm never going to play Destiny 2, even though I played that for like 10 years. I just continuously play it. But I'm not emotionally invested in them,
Right.
so they don't do anything for me where I would ever pick them for. So the Division would fall into that. Yes, I enjoyed it. I think it's a good game. I don't think it's good as like Destiny 2 and stuff like that. Oh, I didn't give a shout out to Outer Worlds. That one's a very, very good game.
It
And
is.
if you haven't played it, definitely play
It's
it.
what Fallout 4 should have been.
Gotcha.
Yes, I think it's really good. The camp, one of my favorite memories from the Outer Worlds was playing it the first time, and I killed one of the
Companions.
guys that was actually, yeah, companions that was supposed to join me. I had no idea. He just pissed me off. He talked shit, and I just shot him and killed him. And then I found out when we did the podcast, they're like, "Yeah, he joined my crew." I'm like, "Oh, he could join your crew." I was like, I killed him." So the second time I
Yeah.
played through, even though he's an asshole again, because that's his character, I was like, all right, I'm not going to kill you this time. Uh, but anyway, Sekiro, I'm going to talk out of both sides of my mouth real quick. I think I agree with Rudy when it comes to like combat. It's one of the best. I would put Bloodborne above it only
Yeah.
because I just personally like Bloodborne more, the
Sure.
style. But the preciseness of the combat, the quickness, the reflex, the twitch, which I'm not the best at that stuff, is really, really good in the game. The fact that they changed it up a lot, like they took their formula that they knew worked and went, we're going to do something completely different because it is a completely different formula.
It really
Not only
is.
do you utilize stealth more, but you're not as powerful. Like it's really hard to kill these enemies. You can't just walk up to them and slash them 5 times and take a huge chunk out of their health. They're going to deflect you as much as you deflect them. It's all about you overwhelming them or deflecting them enough that it causes them to go off balance so you
I
can
forgot
one
about
shot
that.
them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's all about like most enemies have multiple bars. The area that there's two issues I had with it, and this is why I cheesed my PC playthrough of it. Um, because this is just my personal taste. I like to be able to level up my character. This game, like Rudy said, blocks you on it and it says, bro, you want to get more powerful? You got to show me skills. You got to kill bosses. If you're not going to kill the bosses, you're not going to get more powerful. So I struggled with that because some of the bosses on my Xbox playthrough, I got all the way to the end boss. So there was no cheesing or anything like that. I beat them all legit, and it was real tough. And then when I got to the end boss on the bad ending, not the good ending, you have to fight still though. You have to fight two bosses back to back. And after I saw that, I was like, no, I'm not even gonna try. This is pissing me off. I'm not beating two bosses back to back. It's hard enough to beat one boss back to back. So I quit on that. But on my PC playthrough, I did beat the entire game. But that's because I unlocked the ability to level up using my experience like you would in a Souls game. But it's a really good game. It's really hard.
I was
It's
gonna
to
say, I've
me,
heard it's the hardest game
I
they've
believe it's
made.
the hardest. If you're really good at like pairing, then you're gonna hear people who are good at pairing be like, it's the easiest. Yeah, if you're good at pairing, it is the easiest because that's all you have to do. Every boss, you parry them, you break their will, and then you stab them in the heart and they're dead. But if you're not good at pairing, you're gonna struggle and you're gonna get overwhelmed and it sucks. It's a terrible experience if you're not good at pairing. But it's a great game. It's a fantastic game, and definitely worthy of all the awards it got. And again, it's
Yeah.
just more proof that FromSoft is just one of the most talented developers. They don't even copy and paste everything. They're always like, let's do something different. Let's figure
That's what
out.
I'm happy about. That they don't.
Yeah, they don't just
They could have
go,
easily
let's
done
just
that.
make, yeah, let's just make easy money. They're always like, well, what can we do to make this experience different from what we did, but still make our fans happy because it's hard. And they did that with Sekiro. All
And
right, let's move. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
so sorry, Derek. I was just gonna say one last thing. Also, for those people who say stuff like, "Well, it'd be so easy," it's easy for me because I can parry. You're always gonna have these people who are just freaks who can parry in any of the games. Like, there's people who play Bloodborne or Dark Souls and they parry every boss.
Yeah,
Like, they just go up, they just stand there, parry, parry,
yeah.
no matter what boss it is. So you're always gonna have those people who can just beat all of them like that.
There's a
So
guy, his
they're
name or
nuts.
his YouTube is all in Japanese, so I have no idea who he is. But I subscribe to him and he uploads videos every once in a while. He doesn't do it all the time, but anytime there's a new release, he uploads them right away. So we're not talking like years later, like a day or two after the game comes out and he's knocking out bosses and they never touch him and he's just parry, parry,
Jesus.
swipe, parry, parry, you're dead. And I'm like, dude, get out of here with your crap, bro. I will never be that way.
Oh
All right,
man.
but 2019, fantastic year. But I give it to Sekiro. So let's go 2020.
2020.
What is your pick? I think we're at Rudy,
I
right?
think it's me,
I
right?
think so.
Yep. Yeah. Let's do 2020.
Well, guys, you already know. It's Doom Eternal time, baby. Play. I wish I had the music playing. Okay, so Doom Eternal.
That
I'm
would
gonna keep
actually
it
have been
short and
pretty
sweet.
rad.
Oh man, it would have been cool if I just snapped my fingers and dun dun dun. Okay, so I know I don't have all the Facebook commenters backing me up here. It's me versus you guys. That's okay. I think that this game is fantastic. Do I like Doom 2016? Yes. I think Doom 2016 is amazing. But just imagine that someone came in 2016 and dropped me off $100, and I was like, wow, I love $100. And then in 2020, they came and brought me $1,000. That's how I feel. I feel like this game
Oh,
is just, it took what Doom 2016 did and just made it better. Now, you guys might think like, no, it didn't get better. I don't like all this chess playing and Doom dance and all this BS, okay? But for me, I love this. I love and actually, Derek, I'm actually surprised that you didn't like it more because I feel like you kind of like that sort of how do I put this? Like the whole I know this is not like a Souls game at all. I'm not saying that. But the idea of like more of like a challenging thing, like I didn't like Doom 2016 the idea of I can kill any enemy with any weapon. I know that's exaggeration a little bit. I get it. But I'm saying
yeah.
in Doom Eternal, you have to be very specific about shotgun, switch quick, rocket launcher, switch quick, sniper.
Yeah.
I,
It
I
moved
really like
away
that.
from what Doom is.
Yes, and I'm not disagreeing with you on that, right? But I'm okay. I'm okay with the change if it's a change I like. I'm cool with that. I don't mind that. I would watch videos again of me playing Doom Eternal. Like I play on Night Ultra Violence, I think it was, and I'd go real fast on PC, right, and play through it. And I'd watch a video back, and I was like, "This is so freaking awesome." I'd go in, I'd use the flame belch, they drop armor, I'd pick it up, I'd turn around shotgun, turn around sniper, whatever, and I'd watch it back, and I was like, "This is so freaking awesome! I love this." I'd use 8 different weapons in the span of 20 seconds, and I just enjoyed it so much. Now, do I blame anyone who doesn't like that if they like the classic style? No, I don't blame you. But do I think that means the game is not incredibly well made? No, I totally disagree there.
I wouldn't.
I think
I wouldn't go so far to say the game's not well made for what it is.
sure.
I just
Hmm.
don't think it should have been called Doom.
Fair
My
enough.
issue was not what you were mentioning.
Yeah.
I hated the platforming.
Oh, the
And that's
platforming
where
style.
I got
They had
stuck
that in
on an area.
Well,
2016
2016
also.
had it too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but this was ridiculous. Like the amount of dumb platforming to the point where I was like, where am I supposed to go? And I remember Tim thinking the same thing. He was like, dude, this is so frustrating. And I was like, you know
Oh,
what? I
interesting.
quit. I quit.
I
So
kind of liked having it because it was a good break between like the craziness of the arena areas, you know.
I
I didn't mind it
hate
really.
first person platforming. So it's not a Doom Eternal thing.
Okay,
It's
so you
I
guys have two
hate
different complaints. I see.
like I get mad at Destiny 2. Like if you do like I don't play their raids, but if you do raids, there's a lot of platforming and there's nothing you'll hear me cuss more over, and I cuss a lot, than first person shooter platforming. I'm like, really
I
guys? I
got you.
can't see my feet. Can you please stop making stupid crap like this where I have to jump on this little ledge? Or if I have to stare and like figure out like where I'm supposed to go, I'm like, I don't know. And I
I
remember
gotcha.
Doom Eternal, and I again I play way too many games. I went back and I just started Doom Eternal like a month ago.
Sure.
And I just started playing it because I was like, I really should come back to this game because I don't know if you guys are like this, but I am this way.
Yeah.
If I like a game or a franchise, it bothers me if I haven't beaten it. So I
Yeah. Yeah.
really like Doom 2016. So it actually, I don't care how many times I tell people I don't like Doom Eternal. It bothers me I haven't beat it. And I really truly believe that if I actually invest the time
I'm the
and
same way.
play it all the way through, you're not going to hear me say it's a terrible game. I'm going to say I like it. It's good.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But I haven't been able to do that yet. Every time
I
that
get
I've
it.
gone back to it, I'm like, it's fun, and I'm not the biggest, to be fair, I'm not the biggest first person shooter fan. I
Okay.
like them, but they're not my go-to franchises. I'm more of
Yeah.
a, well, you can figure it out. I'm a Souls guy. I'm an action RPG
Sure.
or an old school RPG like BioWare type game guy. But yeah, I do
Yeah.
think at some point I will go back and beat it. I really do.
If you do, let me know because I'm looking for any excuse to go back to it again. Honestly, and Jesse, even your opinion on it, I feel like when I think of Doom 2016, granted, it's been years, you know, so don't quote me
Yeah.
on it, but I even remember playing 2016, and yes, I wasn't switching as frequently, but I was definitely switching pretty regularly. It wasn't like a, you know, 8 weapons in the span of 5 minutes, but I was switching, you know, pretty frequently. I was using a lot of the different weapons, but this is obviously escalating that a bit. And I love the new additions they added to it, you know, like adding in the what's the fire thing called? The flame belch, and then adding that in with the getting your health with the melee, and then God, what was
I
the
didn't
other
mind that. The whole health with melee
chainsaw with
thing
the
was pretty cool.
yeah, am I
Oh
confusing
yeah, I know
them?
what you're
The
talking.
chainsaw gives you ammo, the melee
Yeah.
gives you health, and the flame belch gives you armor. Like the whole you know how like Fire Emblem has that like triangle where
Yeah,
one
that's what
overpowers the
they were
other.
doing there.
I love the whole idea of that. I thought that was so cool. And so playing the game like on my like especially on my computer, man, it was so cool. Like playing at such high frames and the
But they
graphics so
also
crazy.
introduced like weak points. So you had to actually aim for those weak points while you're moving at lightning speed.
Yeah, yeah. I don't remember. It's been a while. Did all enemies have weak points? Was it specific
Not all
enemies?
of them, but
Okay.
No, the
many of
weaker
them did.
ones were you would
Yeah.
kill them a lot of times
And
before they would weaken.
and like when people would complain about like the Marauder, for example, I the way I viewed that was like this is awesome. I love this challenge. I want to learn how to take this guy down quick. Like I like that. I like the challenge, and I don't know.
I just wanted to be like Doom. I just wanted to shoot it a lot and it dies.
sure, sure. Yeah, I
But
get
yeah,
it.
it's a good game. I will come back to it, but it's for
I need
me
to
it was
play
the
it again.
platforming. It wasn't really I didn't have an issue with like, oh, I got to switch my gun or I have to punch this guy here.
Sure,
That
sure.
didn't bother me. It was more, dude, I remember where I got stuck and it was like 3 or 4 chapters into the game and I remember I can see it visually in my head and I was like, I got to get all the way over there. No, I'm not doing this. Like I'm done. And
Yeah, sure,
I
sure.
checked out. But that was on console. PC, I had to start over, so I'm not
Yeah,
as far in. Um,
sure.
we started with Rudy. Jesse, what do you got for 2020?
So mine's pretty close between 3 games. So I'll shout out the other two first.
Okay.
Ghost of Tsushima,
Oh
which
yeah.
is maybe one of the most visually stunning games I've played in a
I'm gonna shout out
really
that one too.
long
Yeah.
time. and Ori and the Will of the Wisps, which
Good
is
game.
a follow-up to
Oh, I definitely know
Blind
Jesse's game of the year.
Forest, which is one of the best games of 2015.
Love that game.
You want me to
But
say it for you? I'll say it for you.
go for it.
It's Demon Souls remake.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
yeah. That game can die in a fire.
It could die in a fire and do eternal.
He's like, yeah, it's a
Yes.
remake. It's not that one though. That one's trash. Yeah, go ahead. What's your game of the year?
My game of the year is Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Yep.
Good game.
It's just the way that they completely recreated that world while keeping the essence of what that original game was absolutely incredible. Like, I'll shout out other remakes like Final Fantasy VII and Dead Space and things like that, but those aren't the level of remake that Final Fantasy VII is, from pixel art basically up to a full-fledged 3D render.
Very impressive.
And they harnessed who those characters are and what that world is while making the combat action focused and fun.
Yeah.
It's great.
Good pick. I actually remember playing this one in 2020, Final Fantasy VII, and being the one on the podcast that was like, yeah, it's good, but I don't love it. And then I came back to it and did New Game Plus, and then played it again on PC and did the DLC as well before Final Fantasy VII Part 2 came out. I'm forgetting the name now, something.
Rebirth.
Rebirth came out, and I fell completely in love with it. Fell in love with the combat, fell in love with the story, characters, everything. So it's definitely on my shout out list. It did not win my, like, I didn't change my game of the year, even though I came back and ended up loving that game. I also, since we're probably not going to, we're 2 hours in, we're not going to be able to do our normal show here. I'll just say one of the games I was going to talk about was Demon Souls Remake. I bought that game on launch. I had beaten Demon Souls that same year, 2020, for the first time on the PS3. Did not love it. Didn't hate it, but didn't love it. But it took away from my hype for Remake, which I played Demon Souls on PS3 because I was so hyped for the PS5 launching with that game, and it kind of took away from that hype. So when Demon Souls came out, I played it, like started it, beat the first boss, who's not hard, and I was like, yeah, this game's gorgeous. But this is exactly where my brain went. I was like, I don't want to have to face that stupid ass dragon on the freaking bridge. I don't want to fight these bosses. I don't want to do any of this. I don't want to deal with this game. I already dealt with it once. I'm not dealing with it again. And so I never beat it on PS5 until about a month ago. I don't know why. I was just like, you know what? I'm in the mood to give Demon Souls another shot. I'm over how I felt about it 4 years ago. And let's just say my experience with Demon Souls Remake compared to the original on PS3 was way better. And it's not just because it looked better and it was 60 frames per second. It was way better because I understood the systems better. Because one of the things that turns me off about, or did turn me off about Demon Souls and Dark Souls 2, is I cannot stand games that take away my life bar. So if my health bar is this
I
big,
hated that.
and then you die, and it's like, well, now your health bar's this when you come back to life. It annoys the shit out of me. And both those games do that. So I automatically go, I don't like those games. But once I realized Demon Souls has like this whole system in place that the other games don't have, that has to do with your life bar being lower or not. And essentially it's you either in a human state or in a non-human state or a dead state. And it dictates the world tendencies, and those tendencies open up world events. This shit, dude, FromSoft is like, oh, ahead of time.
And that was
This
so
doesn't.
long ago.
Yes, bro. This sounds like Destiny and other stuff. Like they're putting this
2009.
in, and they're putting this type of stuff in like a FromSoft game. And this is their first one. So I started doing those events, and the game became real easy, and all the bosses, I beat every single boss the first try. The only boss I died to in Remake was the last boss.
The
I
last
died
one, me
once.
too. Yep.
Which, spoilers for anybody that doesn't want to know, because I just think this is pretty cool. The very last boss can literally suck your souls or your health, like your
Oh my
level
god,
away.
I hated
So here's
that.
what I mean by that. When I fought him, I was level 89.
Oh my
He got me with the soul sucker twice. When I beat the game, I was level 87. He took 2 of my
I was
life
so
or
mad
levels
about
away.
that.
And I even knew he could do it because before I fought him, Sasan was like, watch out for his level sucker. I'm like, oh, that's right. I totally forgot about that. And it's a slow moving move. It's
Freaking
not
grabs
even,
you.
it's so slow. He's doing it, and he still got me twice. I was like, you got to be kidding me. But I did beat him on the second time, so it didn't even matter. But the story's great. The atmosphere is great. By the way, shout out to, I think it was Blue Point that did it. They did a phenomenal job. They literally mirrored the the original game. They just made it prettier. They only added a little bit of content that wasn't in there. Goes back to that mystery stuff I was talking about. One of the cool things they did is I don't know if you know this, Rudy, but
Yeah.
in the remake, there's a part of, I think it's level 1-3, where you can go past an invisible wall and there's a locked door and nobody could unlock the door. And
Oh, I do remember
the
this.
entire Demon Souls community, I think it took them over 3 months collectively to figure out how to get past that door, and they finally figured out how to get past that door. And it was actually, it unlocks the penetrator, which is one of the bosses, and unlocks
Yes.
his a full-on armor
His
set, which
armor,
is
right? Yes, I
something
remember
that
that.
everybody wanted in the original release. So they took what everybody wanted in the original release, and they put it in the remake since it wasn't in there. Um, so yeah, my game though, with all that being said, is The Last of Us Part Two. I love that game. It's
Fantastic.
definitely still stands the test of time, and it's my favorite game of 2020.
You're just an Abby stan.
I am. I love her
I love
build.
Last of
That's
Us
the
Part
type
2.
of girls I try to date, are ones that are bigger and thicker than me.
All right, we got 3 left, right? I know Jesse has to start wrapping up, and I gotta go
Yep,
soon. So you want to just run through
let's
these
do it.
quicker? Okay.
2021. Let's go. Jump in.
Okay. So 2021, I got to Jesse's pleasure, Metroid Dread, baby, all-time favorite.
Overrated.
Shout out Returnal. Shh, Jesse. Shh. Joe, shout, shout out to Returnal, which I also really loved. I thought it was also a very good game. But yeah, Metroid Dread, fantastic, really really good 2D side scroller. Yeah, don't have really much more to say than that, but I was happy to see it come back. So
I tried to give that one a shot. Couldn't get
it
into
takes
it.
two. Shout out to.
It's
So
definitely not a Derek game. Jesse, what's your 2021?
2021 for me would be Halo Infinite.
great game.
Um,
Great game.
it's impressive, I think, how they were able to rectify the disaster that was Halo 5 and basically just wipe the slate clean and produce a good story along with excellent gameplay. Shout out to Guardians of the Galaxy, though.
Yeah, that was a
How
great
about
game.
that?
I enjoyed that one. I did not expect that to be that good. I'm gonna mirror and echo Jesse. My 2021 is Halo Infinite, but my shout out, and I think it deserves the praise, is Deathloop. It's an absolutely
Definitely.
amazing game. It
Still
took me
gotta
a
play
while to
that.
get hooked, but once I got hooked, it was so freaking good. So another amazing game released by, now I'm forgetting their name. Whatever, doesn't matter.
Oh,
Well, it
Arcane.
was Arcane, not the Redfall guys though. This is the
Yeah,
actual the good dudes. Um,
yeah.
2022, guys. Now, this one's
2022.
a really, really good year, so I'm very interested in seeing what your picks are and if you have any shout outs for that year.
Slam dunk for me, easy.
Go for it.
Jesse,
You go first.
Okay.
okay.
I mean, Elden Ring. God, I don't have enough good things to say about Elden Ring. I'll just get the shout outs out of the way first. Plague Tale Requiem, very good game. I thought it was a big step up from Plague Tale. Really loved it. God of War Ragnarok. When the trailers were first coming out, I feared that it was just going to be like God of War 1.5, but no, I was mistaken. It was actually a huge step up. Really good game.
Hmm.
Ghostwire Tokyo had potential, but I think Ghostwire Tokyo 2, if we get that, will be really good. Anything else? No. Okay. Oh, the Cuphead DLC was fantastic. But yeah, Elden Ring, my God, this game is one of the greatest games I've ever played in my entire life. They did what, in my opinion, Breath of the Wild like pushed the medium forward the last time that happened, in my opinion. And then before that was Witcher 3. I think Elden Ring did it again. They just reached a new level. So yeah, I mean, I could go on and on about this game. You guys saw everything. I don't have to say
I
much.
think Elden Ring is a game that I actually think like Jesse could enjoy.
Oh, I
Just
think he
because of
definitely
how open it
It's
is.
so
Yeah, he's
accessible.
gonna run into some headaches, but I think the openness of it makes it really fun.
I think Elden Ring has made things like a lot of the things that people say make the older games harder. Elden Ring has rectified a lot of those things. You don't have to do these runs back to bosses anymore. You can teleport there. You have summons that you can have with you anytime. You can co-op any place you want. You know, they've made it very, very easy if you want. You know, way easier. Any place,
Yeah.
anytime. So
I would
I may
agree.
give it a
It could
try
be
if
as
it's
hard
on
as
a
you want.
deep sale sometime.
it can be as hard or as easy as you want, you know. And Horizon Forbidden West, I know a lot of people didn't like it as much as the first one. I actually liked it more than the first one. I think it's way better, but I understand why some people don't feel
Too
that
much
way.
bloat. That game has too much bloat.
I loved it so much, man. That was great.
You know what? And I bought it on PC. I beat it twice on PS5. I bought it on PC and started it up again, and I just was playing it the other day just to look at it. I was testing out my new monitor, and that's, by the way, that's one of the best looking games on
It's
PC.
amazing.
It's absolutely gorgeous.
I think the story is better than the first one. That's it.
But the issue I have with that game, and it still stands today, and why it's not one of my favorites from 2022, is I cannot stand how annoying she is. Aloy is absolutely obnoxious. Every person that she's talking to, she's giving them attitude. She's never nice.
You don't
She's
get it.
always pretentious and rude, and it's like, dude, shut up. You're
That is
so
how I
obnoxious.
feel about the girl from A Plague Tale Requiem.
Oh,
The sister in that
she's
game
also-
is obnoxious
She's
in that
also
game.
bitchy. She's also so
She's
bitchy.
obnoxious.
Hugo's like, can we go to the store? Shut up, Hugo. Can we get some cherries? No.
You know what? Maybe I don't feel that way about that because I hate Hugo. So she's probably saying what I want to say to Hugo, and I'm like, yeah, go ahead, keep being rude.
Hugo's
Yeah.
freaking annoying too.
He's a good voice actor for a
No,
kid.
he is. He is.
But oh my gosh. I'm like, shut up, dude. Seriously, shut
What's
up.
the girl's name again? I forgot her name. I can't remember.
I can't remember.
Starts with an A or something. Oh,
Something
God.
Alicia or
Yeah, it's something like
Amicia.
that.
Yeah.
Amicia, I think that's what it is.
Amicia, why do you
Amicia.
keep everyone with your slingshot?
He's so obnoxious.
Oh,
So she
man.
probably just says what I want to hear.
Oh God.
But yeah, that was my only issue with that one.
Fair enough.
So Elden Ring for you, Jesse.
Yes, sir.
What was your 2022?
This one is hard just because I feel like 22 is actually kind of a weak year overall.
Oh, you're a terrible person.
Well, if you didn't play Elden Ring, it would be weaker. I get that.
Well, I don't think he even really liked God of War Ragnarok that much.
Oh,
either.
did it? Okay.
That game was fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Way too long. It's just too long.
Did you ever finish it?
No,
Did
I
you
think
come
I
back
put
and finish
40 hours into it and still was only like halfway through it. And I was like,
Okay.
this
Oh,
is
wow.
ridiculous.
Okay.
Oh, it is. You are right. It is longer.
It is longer.
All right. So now
yeah.
I am curious. Where the hell you're going?
Yeah, where
with
does that leave you?
What do you got left?
So
Return to Monkey Island.
the two for me that are really close, and Derek's I'm sure going to hate one of them,
Of
is
course.
Return to Monkey Island,
Oh, I
which
got
is
it.
a
God.
great point and click game, and Dying Light 2 would be my other one. That's really
Dying Light
close.
2
So
is
I'm going to go with Dying
phenomenal.
Light 2 as my favorite for the year.
All right, yeah, because I was
Dying
hovering
Light
on the
2
block
disappointed me a
the
bit.
block button, but now you are ridiculous. I'll let you get away with liking that other trash, but as long as you pick the right game. Yeah, I did enjoy Dying Light 2. 2022 is a phenomenal year. This is actually one I struggled with. You would think it would be easy to just say Elden Ring, and I do love Elden Ring. I beat it twice. I beat the expansion. I love that game. I really, really do. But I also have a special place in my heart for what I consider the best JRPG I've ever played in my entire life.
Wait
And
a
that's
sec.
Xenoblade Chronicles 3.
Oh, I know you love those games.
and I love God of War Ragnarok. So it's really hard. I am going to choose Elden Ring, but I wanted to make sure that people understood that I literally wrote all three of those games out because I was like, I could pick any of those, and none of
Okay.
those answers are wrong. But I'm gonna go with Elden Ring just because it fits who I am.
Sure.
That's my favorite style of game. But if you have not played Xenoblade Chronicles 3 and you do not have to play the previous ones,
Oh, you don't.
highly
Okay.
recommend it. Like, amazing story, fun combat, and actually I know it's on the Switch, so it is held back, but it has a great open world. Like, just it gives you that Zelda vibe. It's not as
Okay.
pretty. Don't get me wrong, it's not as pretty, but it's got that Zelda vibe as far as it's so wide open and all this
That's
exploration.
awesome.
And I loved it. I got hooked on it.
Before we move to 2023 and wrap this up, just to get closer to your block button, Derek, real quick, 2 games. Pentiment,
Sentiment was
beautiful,
very good.
beautiful game. The art, the hand drawn, like 1600s art style, very, very good, nice murder mystery stuff. It was just a
Obsidian.
fantastic
It's
game.
Listen,
Obsidian.
I
Very,
only
very cool.
have one listener, and I'm pretty sure it's Gaston. And I
We
just
just
want to say,
lost them.
I just want No, Gaston probably loves you guys. He
No,
probably hates
Gaston
me.
probably likes that.
I'm just gonna tell you, Gaston, you are never gonna hear these two guys on my show again. They're gone. They're
Wait,
done, bro.
Gaston,
They're
Gaston, hold on.
done.
Since this is my last time on the show, Gaston, also Triangle Strategy. If you don't mind reading a whole lot,
Oh, that's a good game though.
I actually love this game so much. If you like strategy games, it's a phenomenal story. It's like a Game of Thrones
Yeah,
style kind of story.
I haven't beat
Really
it, but I do love that
excellent.
game.
Really, really good.
Great game.
Okay, let's go.
Another one that was interesting is As Dusk Falls.
Oh, I love that game.
I did enjoy
Really
that
good.
one.
Thought that
That
was
one
really well
actually
done.
was good.
And that
I
one had a
like
cool
that the
aspect with the
story
phones.
changed.
You could do like
Yeah.
the phones, connect the phones, and everyone votes. I thought that was actually really cool how you
Yeah.
could do.
Yeah,
All right,
I
let's do
enjoyed that.
2023 and wrap it up.
Yep, let's lock this in. Let's start with you, Jesse. 2023. This
This
is
one
another
is
tough years to me.
this is
I already know. I
absurdly
already know
easy
what
for me.
Jesse's gonna pick.
Baldur's
Obviously.
Gate 3 by a wide margin. There is no game that I think has done what Baldur's Gate 3 does. The way that you can approach any situation any way that your imagination will allow you to approach it, that game allows you to do it. It's insane the flexibility that game allows. But shout out to Star Wars Jedi Survivor because that one's probably about as close to it as you'll get. Final Fantasy 16 also.
Fair enough. Okay.
What you got, Rudy?
So I would just want to say I am planning on playing Baldur's Gate 3 eventually. I have not played it yet, so take that into account. I have not beaten Zelda yet. I'm about 60 hours in. I love
think
it.
we had this conversation before.
Yeah, we did have this conversation. I am planning on going back to it. But yeah, what I've played, I think Zelda is the best game I've played in 2023. So I'm picking that. I definitely want to shout out a few games though. Alan Wake 2 is fantastic. Such an amazing experience. I've been sucked into the Remedy world. I played all the games leading up to it. I had never played them. So I went back and played all of them. I think that's a huge front runner. I think Final Fantasy 16, I think more people need to be open to doing what you said, Derek, and what I'm about to say is that I played Final Fantasy 16 initially. I was down on it. I wasn't really feeling it. I came back. I did a complete 180. I love this game now. I think it's so good. I just kind of reshifted my expectations of what this game was. And when I did that, I loved it. I think it's one of my very favorite Final Fantasy games. So yeah, that's another one. Armored Core 6, again, From Software showing that they have so much versatility. This game is not a Souls game anywhere close to a Souls game, but it's so freaking good. Yeah, and it's a mech game. How many good mech games are there these days? Like none. So yeah, fantastic. Resident Evil 4 remake, super good. Is that it? Cocoon, shout out to that game. That game messed with my head like crazy. Diablo 4 I didn't play, so I can't say, but I will say, very controversial, but I just don't really like Diablo games, at least 3, because they felt super repetitive to me and boring. I don't know about 2. People say better things about 2.
I've always thought the complaint about games being repetitive is weird, because literally every game is repetitive.
I get that, but there's a difference, and this conversation could go too long, so I'll try to just make it concise. To me, there's a difference between, like, okay, The Witcher 3, for example, right? Yes, is it repetitive when you're doing the same things when you're fighting? Sure. But when I played Diablo 3, when I say repetitive, I literally mean I'm just clicking the same button and holding forward click, click, forward, forward, click, click, the entirety of the game. Like, to me, that was too much. I was just so bored, you know. That's what I mean, kind of. Like when I'm playing The Witcher 3, I'm like, I'm fighting, I'm dodging, I'm jumping, I'm talking, I'm going in shops. You know, it was different. I wasn't doing the same thing the entirety of the game. So that was my issue with that. But whatever, I didn't play Diablo 4, so I can't say. So yeah.
No,
Did you guys like Diablo 4?
I kind of get the whole, like, I get both arguments that, like, all games are repetitive to a certain extent,
Some
and
are more
then
repetitive than others, though. I mean,
but
we can agree
also
on that,
some,
right?
yeah, some don't change anything at all. Diablo 4 I did enjoy way more than I ever enjoyed any Diablo game, because
Right.
I've never liked any Diablo game.
Sure.
But yeah, it's not my style of game. I'm not saying I don't like it. I'm saying it's not something that would ever win an award for me, and I can see it being repetitive just because I'm like, I don't want to do the same thing over and over. But that being said, Final Fantasy 16 never really changes anything up, so you could
Sure.
definitely say it's repetitive, but you'll never hear me complain about that because I think it's one of the funnest games to play combat-wise. So for my pick, last year was a weird year for me. I don't know if I was just emotionally unstable. I don't know what was going on. But I literally had 3 games that I played last year that I proclaimed were the greatest games I've ever played in my entire life, and that was Final Fantasy 16, Tears of the Kingdom, and Boulder Gates 3. So I had 3 games, and I'm not saying, oh, they're game of the year. I said they're the best games I've ever played. So Final Fantasy 16 is definitely my favorite Final Fantasy ever game. Tears of the Kingdom is definitely my favorite Zelda game, and Baldur's Gate 3 tops all my love for the Knights of the Old Republic games, which are
Okay.
OG, like some of my favorite games. That being said, I'm gonna go with Baldur's Gate 3 as my favorite of those 3 because of I'm a big fan of my choices need to matter, and
Okay.
that game does my choices matter better than any game that I've ever played in my entire life. You can do something that you think is not a big deal in chapter 1, and in chapter 3 you see the effects of it and you're like, holy crap, that's connected. What? I totally forgot about that. And it's a significant change. We're not talking about, well, my pants are now pink when they were blue. Like, it's something significant. People dying. You can change the order of stuff.
That's awesome.
I had a part of the game in Act 2 where I wanted this girl to survive. I'm not afraid to say I'm shallow. It's because she was hot. I wanted her. But I didn't know she could be one of my I didn't know she could be in my party. I just liked her. I knew she was in the game and she was supposed to help me in this fight. She kept dying and I couldn't get past this part and she kept dying and I was like, screw it. I finally got past the part, but she died. And I was like, whatever. It is what it is. I won't, I didn't get to save her. Well, come to find out, if you got through that fight, she could join your party, and then she significantly impacts another side quest that has to do with another character later in the game. I never got to experience that because she was dead. So that this game has so many things that matter and they impact the entire game. Boss fights. So again, I'm not just talking about like whether a person likes you or not. You can change boss fights completely.
That's
That's
awesome.
Deus Ex type stuff where you can rearrange things before you even enter the arena. So it's just one of the best games ever. I can't believe how good it is. And that being said, Tears of the Kingdom and Final Fantasy 16 are just as good. They're just doing something different. But that year, it's not even close. 2023 is my favorite year of all of gaming,
Awesome.
because of those 3 games.
I seriously need to play this game. Let me ask you guys a question. Do you think that this game would lend itself well to playing on Steam Deck here and there? Like I play on my PC, take it with me on Steam Deck sometimes.
It runs on Steam Deck. I did play it a couple times. It runs okay. It's a little fuzzy looking, but it works. And since it's not like this third person action game or even a first person shooter, it's just, hey, move this here and tell it to
That's
do
what I was
this.
thinking. Okay.
It's point and click. You can 100% do
Is
it.
it top down? A lot of the times when it's top down, like I
Yeah, it's
assume
always like
most
Yeah.
up,
times.
so you can just walk around through the world. You can
Okay.
move the camera closer, and you walk around, explore the world,
And
and then
lower
when
the
you're in
settings a little bit,
combat, it
maybe.
comes out. Yeah.
I wonder if I lower the settings and a game like that, I'm sure there'll be a
Yeah.
lot of like exploring and stuff I can do on the Steam Deck when I'm, because man, I can't ignore a game like this, obviously. So glad.
I would highly recommend. I would, if I was you, I know you're going through Erd Tree now, so finish
Yeah,
that. But I would make time for Tears of the Kingdom, knocking that off, and then
and then maybe I'll
starting
get to
Baldur's
that.
Gate 3.
Okay.
What blows me away about that game is how people that don't even like that style of game like
That's
that
me.
game.
That's me. I'm like, I didn't really. I can tell that Divinity is a good game. It just wasn't. I wasn't getting into it, but I want to try this because I've seen people in my exact boat who liked Baldur's Gate 3, who couldn't get into
It
it.
is Divinity. It's just better presentation, and I think I would say it's better characters. Like you care
Yeah.
about the characters more. It gives you that Mass Effect slash Knights of the Old Republic vibe as
Okay.
far as everybody that's in your party, whether you like them or not, matter. Whereas when I was playing Divinity, I wasn't like, oh, I really care about this companion with
Right.
me. It was just like you're just there to help me win these fights. That's really all they were to me. I mean, your choices matter. You can impact the gameplay. Same thing as Baldur's Gate 3, but the companions and the story combined with the presentation, because it made you feel like you're exploring the world like you would play Dragon Age, with the perspective and how you maneuver around. Because I played with a controller, maneuver through the world. But once you're in combat, it goes into that turn-based strategy type gameplay, which I actually ended up finding to be extremely fun when that's not really my style of gameplay,
Right.
but it's really good. I put 100 hours into it. You don't play a game for 100 hours if you think the gameplay is terrible, just
Yeah.
because you want to say the story's good.
Of course.
You
Yeah.
you have to enjoy the gameplay, and I think it has really good gameplay.
I have a friend who couldn't get into Divinity, and he tried this, and he said it even felt sort of more even accessible to him. So I don't know.
It
I'm gonna
is, but I think it's the presentation that
sure,
really
sure.
it's kind of like that whole Dark Souls Bloodborne thing. They're both
Yeah.
kind of doing the same thing, but one just does it better. It has better presentation, better
Okay.
atmosphere. That to me is what Baldur's Gate 3 is.
Okay. Sweet.
Highly, highly, highly recommend it. All right, guys. Because
That
of
was fun.
timing and we got to get you guys to bed, you guys have busy days tomorrow. I'm going to cut the show short. What I'd like to do is bring you guys back on as soon as
Sure.
possible, whenever you can. It doesn't have to be like tomorrow, but when we can, and let's actually record another show where we get to actually talk about what we're currently playing and some of the games that we just beat, because I know you guys have some stuff that you just finished and that you're playing right now. But I do think this show, the way it played out, was amazing. I love the conversation. This is my favorite type of thing, going through and just
Same.
talking games that we love and why we love them. So I really appreciate you guys coming on. I look forward to you guys coming on another time, and let's actually talk about what we're currently playing. But
Sounds good.
thank you and have a good night.
Thanks,
Sounds good.
man.
Thank you.